No, I'm waiting for you.
Why? You're like a dog.
You're supposed to be live.
You're like a dog. I am live.
God, I can
You're
stop
a
watching
sad,
me.
pathetic dog that's just waiting for its owner to come home. That's what you're like in here.
Thank God you got off the fucking game. Oh wait, you're still gaming?
Mom? You got off the game? You got off the game? Who talks like that?
What do you want me to say? That's what you sound like. Why is there a Nazi on the back of your Vesta board?
That's what is that?
He looked, oh my God. Got him. Holy sh. You feel quite the fool, don't you now?
Shut the f up.
What'd you have for Thanksgiving? Don't say Subway.
I ate fresh as fuck.
You had some turkey on your sub sandwich.
Why? What'd you guys eat?
We just have leftover turkey. We don't really celebrate the American Thanksgiving too much.
Wow. Fuck.
A duck.
Do I need this pig? I don't have a mediator yet. Did you see this psycho shit from Trump? Any document signed by Sleeper Joe Biden with the auto pen, which is approximately 90% is hereby terminated. And if no further force or effect, the auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the president. Yeah, this is what,
what is an auto pen? He just...
Honest to God, nobody fucking knows. I think the idea is supposed to be, it's like a thing that automatically, it's like a machine that automatically signs stuff for you.
It's like he said, I give approval to sign this, and then like this machine signed it. And
no!
Sent it into, no?
There's no approval given. That's why they're trying to harp so much on this, because what they're trying to say is Biden didn't actually sign it. Something with an auto pen signed it. So therefore, every single thing that he signed...
Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It was retarded.
Does it matter if I don't get the pig here? I can probably encounter them later on, right? I think so. Okay. Oh, wait, shit. Sorry, fuck.
Your title's the same today.
Yeah, that's because it's the same shit every day. Taking over the universe. Oh, that was a Pinky in the Brain reference. You wouldn't get that. Sorry. I need to do, what is it, Adventure Time?
I would be Pinky.
No, you would just be retarded.
Good one. Why can't I hear anything?
Oh my God, why?
Share it, dude.
Okay, wait. I can do these. I just do. Are you doing the infinite job of points glitch? No, what the fuck are you talking about? They patched all that shit, hopefully. Turn on, share, oh wait, share your screen. Devices, share, boom. And then this just worked, right?
Talk?
Hello?
Okay, yeah, I hear you.
Did you know that Uber charges different prices for different people for the same rides? I've heard that there's like a lot of weird algorithm shit running like that. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that. Have you heard that before?
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard that if your phone is on low battery, they charge you more as well.
Yeah, I've heard that too. There's no way that's true. Do you think it can read the battery level of your phone? Do you think apps normally have access to that information?
Oh, absolutely.
Why would you just assume that? Why? Why absolutely? Tell me why absolutely.
I don't wanna.
Touche.
Leave it to me.
There might be some like default like permissions or whatever, where like everything just gets access to some basic phone information, maybe.
I don't really think that's a problem though. If they're charging people differently.
There's like a whole like world of stuff that because I am autistic, I don't give a fuck. Not autistic, I just don't care. But like there's a world of stuff where I think you have to design like policies and stuff around, you can't look at like what's the most effective, you have to look at like what makes people feel good or feel bad.
Yep.
And then you just have to design for that. So like even if a thing doesn't matter, it doesn't matter because people are going to bitch about it.
True.
Although some of it actually does make me feel shitty. So maybe I shouldn't say it. Like there is an economic argument for charging subscriptions for like car stuff, like heated seats and everything, because technically they can save money by producing the same thing for everybody and then just like paywalling certain stuff off. Like theoretically that should be a minor savings that passes down to the consumer. But I stepped in a car once. It was a rental car. I think it was a BMW. But I guess, you know, like when you rent a car, you can pay for like, oh, GPS and all that or whatever.
Sirius
right?
XM.
Yeah, all that bullshit. When I got in the car, it said like you didn't authorize this from your from the rental person or whatever, or it was just like you haven't activated this feature or something. That felt kind of shitty. I'm like, wait, excuse me?
It feels like they're nickel and diming you for the fucking car.
I think it's not so much that. I think it's more like I'm sitting in a thing that I don't own. Like, I don't have this. Like, there's still features that the manufacturer is gatekeeping from me, you know?
But isn't it the car rental agency that's gatekeeping it from you versus the manufacturer?
Well, well, in this case it is, but like if I owned the car, it would be the same thing, right?
Yeah. What happens if you, like, can't you just hack into your car and turn it on? Or is that illegal?
That's a good question. Would it be illegal? Like torturous interference? Maybe not for you doing it, but the person.
It's your car.
Yeah. But I mean, my guess is that the cars that you buy today, they probably come with, hopefully Louis Rossmann isn't here because I bet he's going over this in video. I guarantee you actually, I think the cars you buy today probably have like a huge pamphlet of like terms and conditions that you have to accept, like software related, when you buy them.
I'm booming out now.
What?
You should just, if you buy the car, you should just be able to do whatever the fuck you want with it. It's my fucking car.
Yeah, I think that, well, that was a big contention I think that Louis Rossmann had with a lot of the weird
with the farm equipment, right?
DRM, is that what you call it? Digital rights management stuff? Yeah, is that like you're not allowed to do certain things with your car, or it could be considered like a violation of the license agreement or whatever. Yeah, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, right to repair or whatever.
Or
pretty
whatever.
Retarded. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Whatever.
Okay.
Do you know what that's from? Do you know my reference?
Say it again.
Whatever.
No, what's it from?
South Park.
Oh, well, I don't watch that.
But I think it's
shitty
referencing
show,
something else.
So that's why I don't know the reference. How's life in Canada? What's the big difference between living in Canada and the USA?
Are
you guys still in
Indians.
the same area? Stop. Are you still in the same area?
What? You asked me. I'm fucking being honest. Yeah, we're in the same area.
Okay.
What else is the main differences? I mean, there's a lot. It's colder, depending on where you live. It feels just like the same, unless you're in Quebec, where everything is in French, which is cool.
I was gonna say one thing is that like, I guess I kind of say it, I guess derisively or whatever, but like Canada really is kind of like America Junior. Like it feels like basically the same thing.
Yeah, it does. Like I wouldn't go into Canada and be like, oh, this is distinctly different, unless I was in Quebec, because they change every fucking thing language-wise, and everybody speaks French there.
Yeah. Have you been to Montreal?
Yep. That's where we went on our honeymoon.
Ooh. Did you go to the
Schwartz's Deli?
No. What's the name of that
Bagel
huge
place?
church in Paris? The Notre Dame or
Notre
whatever?
Dame?
Yeah, did you go to that? Yeah.
I think so. I think that's an Old Port. We walked around it.
Is it Old
But we didn't go in.
Old Port St. Lucie, or is that a Florida city?
Old Port, Montreal.
Oh. But you didn't go inside, no. It's very, very, very
No.
blue inside, so if you went in, I think you'd remember.
No, we didn't go inside. I'm not like a big church going inside guy.
Okay.
I'm a big coming inside guy.
Even before paywalling shit became meta, couldn't car companies like Lamborghini take your car away if you modified it? So for really big manufacturers like that, if they could, it wasn't because of like some software agreement. It was because like, I don't know exactly this. I've just heard this before, but like some cars, you have to be like cool when you drive them. You have to be like cool enough to drive
Ferrari,
them.
yeah.
And if you're not cool enough, maybe they can take it away. And part of being cool is not modifying it to look retarded.
You have to be like invited to buy the car, and then I think if you do any crazy retarded shit, they'll just blacklist
Maybe?
you from buying future ones.
Something like that, yeah. No, he is talking about the one on top of the mountain. Oh, I went to that church too.
Oh, I went there. You're talking on top of Mount Royale?
I guess.
Yeah, I've been up there. They sell like hot chocolate and shit up there.
Based.
I've been there twice now. The first time we went, we like did the stairs, and the second time we went, we did like a big fucking.
Oh
walk
yeah,
up,
the stairs. A lot of them.
the stairs were brutal.
A lot of stairs.
There's a lot of stairs.
A lot of
there,
them.
Yeah. Did you go to any cool food restaurants in Montreal?
I don't think so. I think there was one that like they have like a specialty poutine like fast food place or something.
Oh,
that might be
like
like all of
Le
Canada's.
Banquise or whatever.
I don't know, maybe they got like 50 different types of poutine.
It's open 24/7. Everybody in there looks like a high schooler. It's just a normal place I go.
What?
Good one. What? Le Banquise sucks.
Damn.
Not good. Joe Beef has horse poutine, which is pretty cool. I didn't try it though.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, America's kind of like Canada's Mexico, but like really, because like you guys actually are the ones bringing the fucking guns up here.
Do they have? They don't even have a lot of guns up there.
Canada has a ton of guns.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Canada, guns per person.
Why is this Mouton guy now in the orbit and on every damn stream
True.
talking his dumb shit? Isn't this the guy who couldn't figure out not to go to the Bob's house?
True.
He did get you there.
35 guns per 100 people. USA guns per person. 1.2 to 1.7 guns per person.
Who cares? Fuck.
So
Okay.
yeah, Canada's got a lot of fucking guns.
This is my last fight. And then I'm done, guys. Hold on. Golan, what did I... This is the shaft. Oh, yeah. Is there anything I need to steal here? Keep a dragon alive. In order to get into blah blah. Train you to stone or cast doom. Okay, Jesus. Try poaching the plague horrors. The best knife in the game. What the fuck?
Am I a gun hater? No, I wish I could fucking have a gun. Fuck.
Yeah, especially.
I probably
being
could.
No! Oh, sorry. I thought it was. Yes. Especially being up there in Canada, right?
Oh yeah. There's no chance Peach's sister would get back with Joe, right? Zero. I don't think there's a 0% chance anymore.
Well, we don't know why they broke up, right?
I know why,
Ooh.
but I don't know. That's not a not safe. That's a not interesting for stream content. So I would tell you in person or in private.
Wait, why would it not be interesting for stream?
It's too personal. It would be interesting for them,
Oh.
but
Wait, can you DM me?
it just
I
gets
won't say it.
into.
I won't say it out loud. I
Sure.
swear to God, I won't. Oh my God, guys, I'm about to get the juiciest shit. The biggest, the teaest of teas. You guys wish you had tea like this. What are your thoughts on a strange style gun reform? I don't know. I don't have big thoughts on gun reform.
I mean, just that.
Oh my God.
Montreal bagels greater than New York City bagels? Not true.
The most boring fucking reason ever. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind, guys. No tea. Sorry.
It's not anything
It's
interesting.
fucking retarded. I can't believe you
I'm
wasted your
retarded.
time. You should have just like been coy about it. Been like, oh, actually, I can't say. It would have been way more interesting that way.
Can you just focus on your fucking game?
I am.
You don't even know how to play this game. You're fucking fumbling around.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, boy.
Did you ever play Final Fantasy IV?
Fuck no. That's for kids.
That's the only one I really ever played.
Counterpoint said there was new Gunnar drum, but behind the scenes, are you going to tell us or not? It's fucking retarded. It's just dumb. I don't think it'll go anywhere.
What's the drama?
Some fucking people are just always being mad. People are always mad, you know.
Is it good or is it?
No, it's boring.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll type you grunge drama.
My turn.
Read Trump's Thanksgiving post for Destiny. He verbatim said that Tin Malt is retarded.
There you go. Compared to all my other, Don't laugh.
I mean, compared to everything, yeah, that's a nothing burger, dude.
Stop laughing. Whew, evaded.
What orders is Trump even terminating of Biden that Biden did with that?
Who the fuck knows? Okay, poach, successful. Boom! Got him. Is this... Oh my god. This dragon lady turns into a lady. And that's Beowulf's wife, I think, is the story here. Is this like the origin for the dragon furry fetish stuff? No, it probably predates this game, huh?
Pardoned? Well, thank God he signed his son pardon.
Well, they're trying to undo that, though. That would be part of this, you know?
Hold on, there's a dono coming in.
Do you see the Thanksgiving tweet from Trump? Oh, Doom. No, I don't have items on. Yeah, I did. It's retarded. He's retarded. What do you want me to say? No! Don't one-shot him! Whatever. Did you see that? Do you know what they're talking about?
What, the Thanksgiving thing?
Yeah, we called the governor of Minnesota, Mike Waltz, retarded.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like he's done so much retarded, crazy shit that I don't even feel like this is a big deal anymore.
I know. It's annoying how much
Yeah.
of a pass he gets on everything, though.
It's hard to care anymore, though. But yeah.
Wait, this guy doesn't cast Ultima, does he? For me to learn on Ramsa? What are your thoughts on penis root masturbation? Studies say they make you last longer and even possibly makes the penis larger. What? What is that guy talking about?
Penis what? What's he talking about?
Penis root masturbation.
Penis root.
Sign me the fuck up, fam.
Yeah, you do need a bigger cock, don't you?
Yeah, your mom's complaining because she's used to getting thundercock.
Which you don't have?
Not the kind your mom needs. What? You can't poach these guys? Okay.
What is your stance on shower pissing, Steve?
Who cares? It's all water at the end of the day.
True. I agree. Pee in the drain, not on yourself. And even if you do pee on yourself, you're washing yourself, so.
Thanks.
True.
I could not have saved Reese without you.
Then we have found the dragon you sought.
A companion. Mere words can be no.
They went fucking hardcore on the voice acting and the writing for this game also, by the way. Aerith. I remember when they redid all this shit, I was like, oh god, it's gonna be cringe. And I never even played the War of the Lions or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what it was called.
As have you.
They did a really good job.
Who are you?
No enemy.
They got good VAs for it?
This
Yeah, the VA is good. Yeah, the writing itself is good. I thought it was just gonna be cringe, like
permitted.
lay old English
My
cringe or whatever, but I think
sword
it's
shield
pretty
to
good.
your cause.
One cannot have too many Come.
Do your Steam Award picks? Bro, I don't watch enough streams or play enough video games, I think, to have an opinion.
Steam Awards. You need to watch a stream for that.
Well, I don't play enough games. What, bro?
Game of the Award a year, you're really not gonna vote for E33?
Well,
Fine. Let Arc Raiders or Marvel Rivals win.
I mean, I feel like I don't play enough games to have an opinion. I played like 4 games this year. Wait, is Factorio an option? If Factorio is an option. Play Silk Song? I don't need that trans propaganda.
Oh.
Not safe for work. This is the technique. Wait, there's a study on it? Hold on. What?
Hold on.
During the period of May through November 2018, a total of 16 patients met the enrollment criteria and volunteered to participate. During the study period, 4 patients declined to continue the treatment without any reasons, and 3 could not stick to the treatment plan. All these 7 patients quit the study in less than a month. Finally, 9 patients completed the entire treatment regimen. The characteristics listed. The mean age of 9 participants was 30.2 plus minus 1.1 years. Mean frequency is centered up. Oh, they've even got a diagram.
How much bigger did the dick get?
The median intravaginal ejaculatory latency latency time increased from 60 seconds to 180 seconds. The median... Damn, they fucked for 1 minute and they got a bust? God damn. Oh, they had premature...
Oh, these are
out of 8
premature
patients had
ejaculators?
the prolonged dorsal nerve somatosensory evoked potential. It also suggests that PRM has a short-term therapeutic effect. Randomized control. Oh, this is for a certain type of sensitivity that increases your or decreases your stamina.
But they said it made your dick longer.
Do you think there's like any... I don't know if I believe in history before the year like 1700. I feel like every time you read anything, I feel like almost all of it was just like not true, or it's like stories or exaggerations. You remember growing
Yeah,
up,
probably.
you ever see like YouTube videos or like wiki entries or whatever, like on all the crazy torture methods that they used to use for people like in the past?
Yeah.
I think basically-
I went to like one of those things.
Basically, like every single one of those is like just fake. Like a few of them were real.
Really?
Like during the Inquisition, like the thumb screws and shit are probably real. But like all the like crazy, like saw trap, elaborate torture, like all of it, like nobody ever used any of these. The only time they ever refer to them is when like fiction writers or historians are like historians from like the year like 100 are writing about like how evil people were like 500 years ago. Like, oh, they used like the 2 boats together and to murder the like. Apparently, it's all like just crazy bullshit. People also exaggerate like historical figures and whatnot.
I will be of use to you.
Like, do you think, who was the guy? Caesar? Do you think he got taken by pirates and then held captive for a while, let go, and then went back and fucking murdered him?
I don't know. It was the year when Caesar was alive. Were there even boats yet?
I'm certain, yeah. There's pirates.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Maybe there were no pirates.
There were boats.
How do you know?
I was there.
Some of the largest naval wars happened under Rome. How could naval wars happening underground? What do you...
Underground?
What a fucking retard. Who said that? Hollow
Yeah, what an
puppeteer?
idiot.
Why do you even sub to me, you fucking idiot? Get the fuck out of my chat, you retard. What do you think this is, the Matrix? Where they were fighting in Zion? Idiot.
Mole people.
Owned that dude.
Come back.
Would you recommend this game, or do you think you're just nostalgia tripping? That Final Fantasy Tactics is... I don't know why, but this is like one of the best, like, of this style RPG, like, of all time, and I feel like nobody ever really made another one of it.
I mean, they did it. The best one.
People say that, I want to say Final Fury. Final Mission? Front Mission? No, there's another RPG that's similar-ish.
Final Solution?
Fell Seal was okay, but just a little bit too... Oh, Fire Emblem. I haven't played Fire Emblem. I've heard good things about that one.
Right.
What did you guys talk about today?
What did we talk about today?
I don't know.
I showed him my new felt mice collection.
Felt mice?
For my tree.
For
my
I don't
Christmas
know
tree?
what anything... Felt mice...
I'm getting there.
Like a tree. Okay, so a Christmas tree, felt mice.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
ornaments, like decorations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you have mice decorations? Do you guys have cats or anything? She has 3 cats, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Aren't they
haven't
gonna
touched them yet.
fuck them all? Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I mean, if they do, then they'll have a felt mouse. What the fuck do you want me to do about it? I'm not gonna live my life in fear of my cats.
You should. Do they do the thing? They do the thing at night where they go fucking crazy.
Oh, big time. And we got like a big runway in our fucking apartment, and they just fucking they bolt. And it'll be funny because one of them will chase the other, and then the other one will chase that one back across the fucking house, and they'll do that like 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can get a video one day. That's my fucking favorite. Hold on. Department of War ordering them to kill any survivors. Reading. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody in the first strike on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean. After 2 men survived, the mission commander ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions, according to 2 sources, said the Washington Post.
Stop! Don't make me Fed post.
It's time to Fed post.
I would like to hop in and challenge some of your positions on the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. Partisan, go for it.
Hop in, I'll drag you.
Oh my god, these are horrifying. Or, I mean, wait, did you guys make these, or did you buy these?
No. We bought them.
Oh, these are horrifying.
Yeah, they're fucking awesome, right?
Oh, well, if that's what you're going for.
Hold on, we got 2 of them who are living on the top of the tree. And then we got the tree.
I'm looking for that partisan guy.
I'll drag him. Get into extreme disagreements, bitch.
Trump is testing his war powers. I can't believe no one is doing anything. No one is doing anything about anything. Because right now he's president. There's not really anything we can technically do.
Well, I can tell you something you could do.
Stop.
You could vote him out.
True. I get to reapply in 2 or 3 weeks. When was I demonetized? What was the day? Hold on. From YouTube.
It's funny to me. I was thinking of August on like a beach in Hawaii and just taking a month off.
Yes. Was it September 17th? Does that sound right?
Francis York Morgan said September 12th.
Why did he put a question mark? Is he just guessing?
Yeah, I'll ban him. Don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Wait, how'd that guy get the upside down troll face? Is that rare?
I don't know. What is that? Wait.
Oh,
TF.
that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Where's this guy? Is he fucking running?
I don't know. Channel membership's been paused. I got that email on September 7th. Wait, where's my main email? Fuck, what was it? From at YouTube? From...
Come on, guys. Let's do the emote about him getting his monetization back.
Stop. From... What the fuck did I get emailed from? Oh, monetization in anywhere. Maybe that would be what it says.
One day before this. So, Destiny thinks his YouTube will be permabanned. I don't know if this guy's right or wrong.
Oh,
That was June 7th.
Okay. October...
I lied. That's not.
No, September 17th. How long is 90 days from September 17th? December 16th. Yes. Okay. Trump to recognize occupied Ukraine as part of Russia. If you asked an AI that, double check. Why? Try getting unbanned from Twitch. My Twitch unban shit is now permanently trapped because when I sent in my last appeal a few months ago, they never responded to it. So you can only appeal every 6 months after your last one gets either approved or rejected, I guess. So since they haven't like rejected it, it's just sitting there in limbo. So
How does the day find you? What are you selling?
Yeah, they're getting right on that.
What do you need?
fuck. Behemoth King Carcass. If it doesn't have the star, that means I didn't get the rare one.
If you got unbanned, would you stream on Twitch again, or would you just not get ever banned again?
No, I would stream. Of course, I'd stream. This is the best knife in the game, really? Okay, wait. So would you ever sell carcasses? I feel like you should almost always buy. Oh, I guess we just need the money, huh?
Oh, very nice. I'll turn.
I don't know if am I a brokey?
Is that all?
Wait, what the
Idol?
fuck? Trump eliminates Biden's auto pen documents. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what that. I don't know anything for anything. Don't ask me any questions about anything in the government. I don't know what none of it makes sense or is real, or it's all just fucking fake shit. So who knows? I don't know what. It's
Don't make him Fed post.
no. There's just like it's just like all a big fucking joke. Like I don't know. Like it would be like tomorrow. Like the Trump admin is like, we took away all rights from women because the Constitution is like all men are created equal or whatever. I think that was a Declaration of Independence or whatever. But like, that's just like fucking retarded. He might even say that. Well, the Declaration of Independence, which the Constitution comes after, it says all men are created equal. So no more women rights. Like, okay.
Women are not men.
Bro.
Oh, that'd feed into his like trans shit too.
I thought that was a joke you were making.
No. What are you drinking?
What do you think I'm drinking?
Hot chocolate? Do you order a hot chocolate a day?
Yeah, problem. That's what it
Can
means
you
to
just
be
make
rich. No, it tastes better when I know someone else suffered for it. Listen,
Not only one person, it's the person who made it and then the delivery driver.
I barely spend money on clothes, and hot chocolates, that's my one vice, okay?
What have we here?
Well,
So long as the southern sky holds.
what about Red Bull?
One Red Bull a day, but I buy that in bulk.
Okay, I don't believe that you drink one Red Bull a day. People were troll
Why?
facing last time. They think you drink 3.
What, you can literally see me on stream. I drink one a day. Unless you think after a stream I drink 2 just to fucking...
I'll be keeping an eye out then. And I'll have my shooters keep an eye out.
Your what?
Shooters.
I swear it's at least 2. You can literally see me drink. I get it. I'm gonna go get a Red Bull now. I'm gonna go get one in a little bit, soon.
Thank you, Nurius, for the 5 gifted to Destiny.
Seriously, bro?
Hope YouTube remonetization soon.
Did you quit your Soylents? I still have them. I just don't drink them anymore. I don't know why.
Maybe you got tired of
Maybe you got tired
drinking your calories.
of being a bitch.
No, I didn't.
True. You never would get tired of being a bitch.
No, I never would.
Jesus.
Pluribus episode 5 sucked. Yeah, this is the last episode I'm giving it.
What do you mean? Oh, you don't like it?
Not really, no. But I haven't seen episode 5 yet, so I'm not sure.
Well, these guys can plan their jumps ahead of time. Wait, is he trying to jump where another guy is going to land? No. Oh, he is. Oh. Whatever, bro. This ain't a fucking promo. Wait, what is that from?
7 miles?
No, fuck. Was that a meme rap about Dan? Micro Dan?
Oh,
Was it? Did you rap that? Did you say that?
I feel a rap coming on.
So. By the way, I watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things. That's a trash movie. I don't know how you were all over it. Oh my god. Did you ever watch that movie?
Nope, haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list. But Dan's making me
the
stream
Team
fucking
Liquid
3 times a
guy.
day.
Oh shit, Chaz 10, you're right. The
Oh,
one
yeah.
guy. Shut up. You would have been underage while remembering this, so don't talk about it.
Well, I was underage on your stream. What does it say about that?
Shut up. Stop. Now you're in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Thanks. Get ready to get an
Big
email from
time.
Joan. How old were you when you started? Wait, how old were you when you started playing DayZ with us?
Like
Say
14
16.
maybe. Like, I don't know.
Okay, well,
When were we playing, Daisy? What year?
2020?
No. Let me.
I think 2020. That sounds right.
Billy Mays.
The Billy Mays DayZ server. We were playing Day
DayZ.
0. Remember? It was like the
We
the
were on Day
real
0.
mod.
Okay, 13 years ago.
Jesus.
So I'm 28 now.
Oh yeah, so 16, depending on when the birthday is.
15, 16.
14,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. Yeah.
It's somewhere around there.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I bet these motherfuckers got a ton of skills. Taking them all. Realize you guys have known each other that long? Yeah, basically his groomer. Or tutor. We're just gonna gloss over the fact that Tiny's guess was 8 years off. Not the first time I've guessed. I'm just kidding. Stop! Stop!
Your
Stop.
Honor, he admits here
Stop.
on this stream.
Your Honor, I would like to run to the courthouse 20 times to submit this USB drive as evidence. Have they?
Where's the USB drive?
Has she submitted that yet? Has she figured it out yet, or is she still struggling? Does anybody know? Jesus Christ. They got it, I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay.
Thank God.
The only reason Destiny's going to gym is because Melina was stronger than it. Listen, gym arcs come and go, okay? The next one's starting soon. I can feel it.
You can feel it?
Yeah. Also, Melina was hella strong.
Yeah, she's super
She might have
strong.
been intersex. She was like... Because she didn't do any special diet stuff. And she wasn't like ultra fucking dedicated to training. But she could pull 2 plates for reps. 5 reps. Like with good form and everything.
What do you mean? Like squat or
Deadlift 225?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you're talking about benching, it's a push.
Sure. Well, if you want to sound cool, when people say, what do you pull? It's usually a deadlift because it's what they call that exercise. Fucking retard. Idiot.
Idiot.
Hegseth ordered survivors to be killed from Caribbean bow strikes. Yeah, I saw that. It's deplorable. These are war crimes. like literally, these are war crimes. You cannot have your, you can't have your military murdering nationals from other countries. You're not allowed to do that for countries that you're not at war with. And
Well, what are they gonna do?
True. Good one, Trump.
Has any like of the EU countries like that this isn't good? I guess Britain stopped sharing shit about it.
Well, I mean, they got their own wars going on over there. I don't think any of them have any whatever for what the U.S. is doing over here. Technically, though, the United States isn't. Oh, actually, true. Even if we were at war, I don't think you could blow these ships up because they wouldn't be considered enemy combatants. That's true too.
No, they're just drug boats, right?
Yeah, this is retarded. Like,
I guess
you
we're
have an
on
argument,
drugs, right?
or actually, I'm sorry, not even you have an argument. Like, it would be legitimate if these drugs were like in, like right off like the U.S. coast or like in U.S. waters or whatever. But they're blowing these things up like fucking. These are like south of the equator, right? These are like out like on the coast of Venezuela, right? I had a guy email me that said that he knew one of the people that died on one of the boats. He was just like a fisherman dude that he smoked weed with, but I don't know how like true or accurate it necessarily was.
How does Aerith always get a tier 5 gifted to them?
I don't know,
Can
but
you
sometimes
fucking-
I see people get gifted subs a lot. 'Cause
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking like, man, this is a loyal fan. But I don't even know if they are. They might just be getting gifted all the time. I feel like I need to know
I'm
that.
thinking they might be whoring themselves out for a tier 5.
Jader,
I'm not sure what's going on.
I need the option to turn off. Actually, I need a text effect applied to slightly hollow out names that are gifted subs.
True, because we need to know who to glaze. And if you're
Exactly.
gifted tier 5,
Yeah.
it's like you're wasting my time. You're
Yeah.
catfishing me.
Basically.
What's the plan?
This must be one of the least cost-effective ways to stop drugs, especially considering most of them come through ports of entry. Yeah.
Well, I think again, I don't think it's good. I think it's bad, but I assume what they're trying to do is just kill enough of them that other people don't want to do it like this. They don't want to fucking move drugs that way.
The thing is that like there's not even that many drugs come that way. So it's not even like you're not really even doing anything. That what they're trying to do, in my opinion, is I don't know why though. I think I just don't read enough on it because I think there's reasons why for Trump personally, but like we just really want to go to war with Venezuela. But I'm not. I don't 100%.
He probably wants the oil shit down there now.
No,
It's not even good oil, is what I heard.
Yeah, it's not. Well, actually, I think Venezuela might have the best proven reserves in the world. I think, which is weird.
But I thought their oil is like fucking like shitty like Canadian oil.
I don't think so. I think
Requires more
it's like.
processing? I'm not sure.
Am I wrong, or is it like better than like Gulf oil? I thought that for some reason the Venezuelan shit was like fucking Kino.
Oh no, it's really good. Then how are they fucking all poor down there?
Good question.
Fucking drill.
Unironically, without getting too mean about it, that's the socialism thing, I think. When the government, a lot of people like to blame the failing Venezuelan economy on the fall of oil prices, but I think what actually happened is when their government expropriated all of their companies.
Nationalized?
That's the way to say it, I guess. But they steal all the infrastructure and everything from the private companies that invested in and set it up. But when they did that, they started running it themselves, but I think they just fucking sucked ass at doing it. And they're like, even before like the fall of oil prices and shit, you can see that like their production, everything went down and kind of got fucked.
So they're just doing a shitty job
Basically,
because
yeah.
of socialism. Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say socialism, but like the government running those industries, I don't think did very well.
Is
for
working
them.
as well as a free market.
Yeah, or as just private companies running it. Not to suck off capitalism too much, but.
But I just don't understand why they couldn't like. Why can't you just hire smart people, pay them a fuckload of money to fix your shit? And
You
then
can't hire them because you have to. Because
easy
that would
money.
be private. You'd have to find a private company to run it or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
And they didn't want to do that.
Well, sounds like they're retarded.
Holy shit! Dragoons need a fuck ton of JP. Oh my god.
What isn't Venezuela part of like the economy meme? It's like there's two types of economies. There's something
an
in
economy.
Venezuela. Yeah.
Wait, what does that mean?
Let me go find it.
Wait, am I talking about
Argentina.
Bolivia? I'm not talking about Bolivia, right? I'm talking about Venezuela. Fuck you. I mixed those. For some reason, I kept mixing those countries up. Listen, South America, socialism, whatever. Type shit.
True.
Sure. What is this? U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. 3 nuclear war command/control planes airborne. Okay. Good one.
Just fucking nuke us.
Who would nuke us?
Iran.
Okay, people are saying Venezuelan oil is actually kind of dirty and sucks shit, but they just have a lot of it, so forget everything I said about that. I want to say farewell to Kika got banned in the Philippines. What the fuck? Wait, that one guy's there. Oh, good job.
Partisan.
It's Partisan, dipshit.
Hello? Oh, Jesus. Look at their icon.
What? He's speaking, but I don't hear anything.
We can't hear you. Your mic is not working.
You know you don't need to learn jump +2, etc. All you have to do is learn jump +6 or 7. What? No, I have to learn every single ability in the job, you fucking retard. Are you serious?
Me at McDonald's.
What?
I have to learn everything.
What?
You don't want to be a lazy McDonald's worker. You need to learn everything. You need to learn how to run front, grill.
Wait, do they do that? I feel like everybody
Prep.
has like an archetype role and you just like end up being there all the time. Like the guy who does like back drive is always doing back drive. The guy on like grill is always doing grill. The guy
Yeah, but if you were... you talked about this in the past, and I experienced this as well at Wendy's, but like the manager, he could fucking do anything.
Managers will do anything, yeah. But if you're just like a line level employee,
I used to do front or grill.
Damn. When you say
I never
front,
did
you like
front.
register?
Yeah, register.
Damn.
I got called a retard because I asked, some guy was like, I want a plain grilled cheese. And I was like, well, do you want the cheese? And he was like, are you fucking retarded? I was like, well, I don't know. You want a grilled cheese, or you want a cheeseburger, but like, I don't know. You said plain. So I don't know
Cheeseburger
if
or
that means
grilled
cheese or not.
What?
I meant cheeseburger.
Okay, well, I don't know. Now I don't know what you're talking about. He said he wanted a cheeseburger plain. That
He
means
wanted a
doesn't want
cheeseburger
nasty ass
plain.
ketchup and all the other gross shit you put on it.
Yeah, but plain also means no cheese.
No, it literally definitionally doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Within... Hi.
Hi.
Okay, what do you want? Cool. Good one. Oh.
What are your pronouns?
No, stop. It's he, him.
Okay, good.
Well, I would like to challenge your overall thesis that this peace deal is a Russia deal.
Okay.
And I want to do this in two ways.
Okay.
First of all, it doesn't seem to be that bad for Ukraine. All right.
Okay. That's the first one.
And yeah. And also, I think that Russia doesn't seem to want to stop the war. And this peace deal is not very good for them.
Okay, well, here, for the first part, do you believe in any of the leaked calls, or do you think that was all a lie?
No, of course. I believe in all the calls.
Okay, so it looks like that this plan was passed back and forth between two Russians before handed off to Witkoff before suggested to Trump. How does that not make it a Russian plan? It could still be a bad plan that doesn't favor Russia, I guess, but I'm just curious on that end, like how...
I mean, all right, it was probably originated between Kirill Dmitriev and Ushakov, those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was passed to Witkoff, and then it was passed to Donald Trump, all right?
Okay.
But then I believe that, it was probably worked on by Russian, Ukrainian, and US sides, and it is a result of that work.
Okay, wait, just real quick. So, unless you're aware of something or I haven't seen it, my understanding is Ukraine has explicitly been cut out of all of these talks so far, that none of this has been shown to Ukraine yet.
I don't think that's true. First of all, I think Ukraine had a diplomat that was working on this plan before it was unveiled. Ukraine is working
on it with who or where?
with Witkoff.
I
and
absolutely,
Ushakov.
I seriously doubt that. Has Witkoff been directly engaging Ukrainians in talks? I feel like he's basically exclusively like a little Russian dick suck. Not to be mean, sorry, but like he just goes back and forth. I don't know if he's involved any Ukrainians in any talks at all.
No, I think someone from Ukraine was involved. I don't remember the name, but I remember reading about it. All right.
Okay, I'd be curious to source that, and until seeing that, my assumption would be that Witkoff is never involving Ukrainians.
No, that's fair. That's a fair assumption.
Okay. When I look at the actual deal, I think I read this a few days ago. So this is the one that includes like a mandatory reduction of Ukrainians' military, right?
Yeah.
And then forces them to see
how low? How low is that reduction?
Is it 600,000 troops maximum?
Yeah, it's 600,000 troops.
Okay. And are they at over 1 million now? So it's not quite a 50% cut, but it's like close to it.
Yeah, it's close, but also before this full-scale invasion, they were at around 200,000.
Okay, but sure, but I mean like that. They also weren't being actively invaded by Russia.
Yeah, that's true. But if we assume that this is a peace deal, then in peacetime, 600,000 is a lot of troops.
Okay. Why would you limit the troops at all, though?
I have no idea. Don't ask me that. But if this was a Russian deal, they would never agree to this 600,000 amount. And I mean, Istanbul talks, which were the previous round of this peace deal, I would say. I think they were limiting to how many? 300,000 or 200,000? I don't remember exactly.
Okay. I don't understand how there's any deal that limits the Ukrainian troop count, and we think that this is like a deal that Ukraine would be excited for. They just got invaded and they're about to lose, assuming we go through this, maybe a quarter of their territory.
No, I agree with that. I would say that this is not an exciting deal for Ukraine, but this is not the maximalist position of Russia, I would say.
Sure.
If they were drafting this deal, and, Witkoff would probably still, try to sell this deal, even if it was saying, like, bring the amount of troops down to 200,000, It not like it makes any difference to him or Trump or, any of these people involved.
Well, I mean, for Trump, my guess is that Trump and Witkoff and JD Vance, my guess is that they just want the war to end because Trump is bored of it. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't give a fuck about anything that happens in Europe. He just wants to be done with it. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore. So they want whatever is going to end it. A drawdown of troops to like 200K, there has to be a reasonable position that like Ukraine could accept, in theory at least, and that low would be like just not possible. I don't think, right? But like they're getting a
maybe.
They're getting a mandatory reduction of the current Ukraine troop level. They're getting the totality of the Donbass, I think, right? Crimea is solidified as theirs. Do they get to keep all the territory
I think so, yeah.
they currently occupied? So like the whole land bridge and everything over to and then like 50% of the power plants or whatever in the east. I forget the names of all the territories or whatever, right? But like all of this. Go ahead.
If I remember correctly, the current front line is frozen during the ceasefire, and then the territories can be diplomatically swapped, but they probably will not be, but they might be.
Sure, but I mean, like Russia's getting more land than they even have at the moment, because there's areas in the Donbass that they haven't been able to take that is going to be granted to them via this deal, right?
Kind of. As far as I understand, the Ukrainian troops move out of those territories, but Russian troops do not move into them. So that is...
Well, when you say Russian troops don't move into them, it's the Russian game. They did the same thing in Georgia, where it's like, well, these are just going to be autonomous territories that neither side is allowed to occupy. But in reality, it's a Russian territory. Yeah,
that's true. And this is a huge deal for Ukraine because those territories are the most, fortified at this point, so it would be a huge deal for Ukraine.
How is that?
But
what do you mean by when you say a huge deal for Ukraine? Like this is the deal of all time. What does that mean? A huge deal?
A bad deal. I mean, it would be a bad deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it doesn't read like something that was drafted exclusively only to cover the Russian position.
Isn't there literally language in here that is like indicative of like a Russian translation?
Not really. Not in my reading of it, at least.
When you say not in your reading of it, what, do you speak Russian or?
Yeah.
Okay, it feels like when I saw there were phrases, I wish I could remember, but there were translated phrases that like in English, it's just not really a thing you would say, but apparently they have like a very direct Russian translation where it's like, oh, this is a common phrase that you would see in Russian. If somebody can point out an example.
Yeah, there was something like it.
Sure.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was something like, it will be, I don't remember.
Sure. So
but
I guess it seems like this deal would give basically almost everything that Russia would want, while still kind of sort of being maybe possible for Ukraine to accept. And then that's like, how is this?
I would say that it wouldn't give Russia what it wants. First of all, it doesn't prohibit, as far as I remember, Ukraine from joining the European Union. It doesn't create...
Sure. But the European Union joining... But them joining the European Union is not really... Who cares, right?
Russia cares. Well, Russia doesn't. Putin cares, This whole operation was initially designed to change the power in Kiev.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that.
To create a puppet state out of Ukraine. Yep. And so if this goal isn't reached, then this is by definition not the position of Russia, the official.
Sure, not the maximalist position. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is that like it's not the maximalist Russian position, but in basically every way it heavily favors Russia. It heavily favors Russian interests, like far more than Ukrainian interests. But like,
I would say yes, of course.
Okay. I seriously doubt that the European Union is about to accept Ukraine at any point in the near future, right? You agree with that, right?
Yes?
No, I don't.
You think
Why
you
why
think-
not?
Well, I don't think it works quite like NATO, but the European Union needs to accept new countries to join, right? Like they can't just say like, oh, you're
Yeah.
joining instantly, right? There has to be some vote or something, because I know there's a huge issue with Greece joining. Ukraine has a lot of issues, especially now in the war. I guess like I'm vibing this out, but is it every single member state of the European Union needs to accept? Is that true?
I'm not sure on that. Maybe.
If that's true, then definitely.
I'm pretty sure it is because. Wait, no, never mind. I was thinking of Finland when they got accepted to NATO.
all right.
Yeah. NATO. It
have
is,
you
yeah.
read the?
But wait, just real quick. But
the
I'm just saying that like
European- Alright.
if that's the case, then I mean like Putin can probably rest assured that there's probably not going to be NATO, or I'm sorry, there's probably not going to be a Ukraine joining the European Union at least in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe.
I
Especially
don't
if it's
think
a
so.
single.
Have you read?
Go ahead.
Have you read the European counter proposal to these points?
No, not yet.
All right. Well, they are saying that Ukraine will be guaranteed a fast track to acceptance into the EU. So this process will start as soon as this deal is signed. So in Europe, at least, they are seeing this as, very plausible, very possible, and probably the best strategy, to continue after some sort of peace deal is signed.
Has this been has this been already accepted by every EU member state? Because people are saying
Probably
that like
not.
in Hungary, if Hungary can veto it, then Orban is going to be a roadblock for Ukraine joining. So they'd have to be kicked out of the EU. So it feels like there's some blockers on.
First
this.
of all, that's a good trade. That would be an excellent trade for EU and for everybody involved. But
Well, you say an excellent trade, but
Orban.
I think the issue is I could be wrong, dude. I'm not European, but like I know that after the UK left the European Union, there was a lot of like Euroscepticism, EU skepticism seemed to be like blossoming, where it was like, oh shit, like this whole motherfucker could fall apart. And if we're starting to like swap nations in and out of the European Union, that seems to be a really scary position for the EU as an institution to be in.
Maybe. Actually, I'm not sure that's true. I'm vibing this hard, but I think that also the position of more federalization of the EU is also on the rise inside the European Union.
Maybe. Oh wait, people are saying that the EU wasn't even part of this trade. Wait, or not trade. I'm sorry. When you talk about the European Union counterproposal, who's making this counterproposal?
I have no idea. I've just read it online.
Okay, well that would probably be
Hey, fucking base.
true based.
I mean, Well, all right, but do you see where I'm coming from? That it's not the best position, or it's not, the best. Fuck.
It's not the but it's not the maximalist position.
Not the maximalist position. Yeah, that's true.
But what kind of an argument is that? I mean, like,
Well, if this peace deal, let's imagine that this peace deal is designed to stall and to, make it so unpalatable for Ukraine that they just walk away and completely disagree with it. In this scenario, Russia would ask for everything they can so that Ukraine is, disgusted by it and just turns away and stop these, peace talks.
sure. I think I think that Russia would be okay with this deal, right? Like it lets them set up for potential future chicanery, and it puts them in they've won a war. They've expanded their territory. How many other nations in the world?
I would argue that you're not right there. That's not right, I would think. I think that Russia and Putin specifically, they don't want to stop this, actually. And they would never accept this deal because it doesn't give them anything they set out to do in Ukraine in the first place.
Well, I disagree. It does give them some stuff.
Yes, it does give them stuff, but it doesn't give them the stuff that they want from it.
Wait, okay, sure. Wait, did you email me about this?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm just curious because you're echoing some points I got from a guy who emailed me a bunch of shit about this. But like, because one of the things the guy that emailed me was saying was that, which I think I agree with, was that the goal of Putin was he wanted another Belarus. He wanted a puppet state, and he wanted a puppet leader.
Yeah.
The initial invasion of Kyiv
Kind
was
of.
like, yes, yeah, and that's the goal, right? I understand that. But like,
or a fail state, completely fail state.
yes,
You know?
that collapses into something
Two
that
options.
Russia can exert, because if it's a failed state, then Russia
Yeah.
will step in and exert a lot of influence. Sure. So I understand that. But when I'm, like this deal, like absent that, which should be the maximalist position, this deal still gives them a ton of land. It inhibits future Ukrainian military growth. It puts them in a really awkward spot. Like I feel like it sets Russia up really good for whatever comes next. And they got land. They got so much land. And they get like land they don't even own
Yeah.
right now. And they get to stop the military shit and kind of like work on their economy and
Listen.
rebuild a little bit, right? Yeah.
First of all, as you might understand, land isn't very important for Russia. Russia has land. Russia has a lot of land. This isn't particularly, war-torn land with
Well, wait. But this
very
land,
minimal.
wait. But this land is the big.
Yeah?
It's I say land, but it's really like guaranteed ownership of the access to the Black Sea, right? It's not even just Sevastopol. It's all of Crimea. It's no.
No. I mean, Russia had guaranteed access to the Black Sea as soon as they took Crimea. That's, the end of that.
Yeah, but they also have the whole land bridge to Crimea now. No.
Sure, but,
Also, don't they,
they
have?
didn't
Also,
start this war for the land bridge to Crimea,
Sure, but I think that Crimea was important to them, right? Like in 2014, that was the first thing that they did was they grabbed all of Crimea.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, like, I think like there's stuff that you can do on, like, I don't know how, like you say Russia has a lot of land, but like they don't have like a lot of farmland, do they?
They do, of course. Russia is an exporter of grain and everything else. Yeah.
So you're telling me that if I were to look per land, that the whole breadbasket of Europe and all that is bullshit, and that capturing all of that farmland from Ukraine or whatever, none of that matters. It's not.
I didn't say that, but the fertile Ukrainian land, part of it goes into Russia. That whole region is very fertile, very high,
Arable.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so now they get more of it. Okay.
Sure, but it's also, it's nothing. In the grand scheme of things, Russia loses. If they, accept this peace deal, yes, they get land, but they lose a lot more than they gain from it.
What do you mean they lose?
Or they have lost. They have lost more. They have lost.
What have they lost?
Well, economically, they're, in shambles right now. Demographically, a lot of people have died, and
Hold on, stop. Okay.
you can't replace.
Yeah, economically, they went to war, right? Sure. Like the war didn't turn out as well as they would have wanted it to, obviously. But to say that like these are the bad things that are as a result of like the end of the war, like these things are going to be no matter what. In terms of like off ramps, this off ramp seems to be as preferable to Russia as possible, that it being the maximalist pro-Russia position.
All right, but I get that. I get. I understand that, but I think that Russia doesn't want to stop the war, period, right now. First of all, they are making gains, no matter how small. So they see it as them winning the positional slow grind. The United States is disinterested in this war and have been for a while and will be for the next 3 years. The European Union doesn't seem to be, holding its weight nearly as much as it should probably. And people back there are getting tired of this.
Okay, wait. So here's a question. And what is your prediction in terms of Putin's view of this plan versus Zelensky? Do you think that Putin is going to say, I don't want to accept this, is fucked, and Zelensky going to say, we really want to accept this? How do you think both leaders are going to react to this plan? Or have reacted to this plan?
think Putin doesn't like this plan. I think Zelensky obviously doesn't like this plan, but Zelensky have sent his diplomats to negotiate this plan because, he's not dumb. And if he walks away right now, he's only going to piss off Trump even more. But if he tries to pull this deal at least somewhat in Ukrainian favor, which is, how peace deals are signed and worked on and developed, then he will give the opportunity for Putin to walk away and piss off Trump.
Okay, I don't know what Putin pissing off Trump does, since it seems like Trump is never mad at Putin for more than 3 days anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Genuinely, it doesn't really matter. But honestly, the most 4D chess move Zelensky can do right now is just agree to the deal as it is and see if this was, a bluff. If Russian side actually doesn't agree to it, to their own deal.
Okay, I guess I don't... Okay, you said you wanted to challenge my position on this. Is the challenge just that, like, this isn't the maximalist Russian position?
Not only not maximalist position for Russia, but Russia is much less likely to agree to it than Ukraine right now.
Interesting.
Like, if
Okay,
Ukraine
I don't know.
agrees to it,
Yeah.
if Ukraine agrees to it, Ukraine has a bright future. They can actually, rebuild. Yes, they lose some land. Land isn't important for any side in this war.
Why do you think that?
But well,
I think
I'm
land
just
might not be important. I
vibing
understand what you're saying. Land might not be important necessarily maybe for the Russian side, because what they really wanted was regime change. But I feel like land is fairly important to the Ukraine side because it's their country.
yes, that's true. And it's more important. But if given the opportunity to trade that land for European reintegration, redevelopment, a bright future again, I think they would probably make that trade.
We say a bright future, but like, what is? I don't know if I'm Ukrainian. I don't even know if I feel like I'm guaranteed to not get invaded again.
You shall have no mercy.
Yeah, I mean, if the guarantees hold, if there are some guarantees, first of all, and if they hold, if there is no further invasion, if this Ukraine is left, to prosper and rebuild.
Wait.
I think that
Why would what possible guarantee, aside from literally like a U.S. security guarantee, which the United States is never doing because Trump's a pussy? What possible?
I think part of the deal was a U.S. guarantee, right?
I don't know what the. I would have to look at what the. I'd have to look at the wording of the guarantee. But if I was Ukraine, I would never. A U.S. guarantee means fuck all to me, right? The U.S. has already broken. It feels like several guarantees to other people. So like I don't know what, including to Ukraine, arguably. So I don't know what that guarantee looks like.
Yeah. I mean, sure. But in a perfect world, this wouldn't be a big deal. That's my thesis.
Okay. Well, I think it would probably be more interesting to see a deal that was negotiated with real U.S. negotiators, with Ukrainian and even Russian negotiators present. I don't know why a deal that was created by two Russians and then backdoored into the White House through a Russian stooge/retard is ever a deal that I would just assume is going to be good for Ukraine. I would imagine that these are always going to be representing Russian interests more than Ukrainian interests. And there is a fantasy world where this is a quote-unquote good deal for Ukraine. But I would just never expect that to be the way that this plays out. There are too many ways that I imagine Russia could fuck with this, even if both sides accepted. The only difference is now Russia's literally solidified their gains in the form of a treaty that Ukraine has to respect. And now it's just like, everything about it just seems pretty bad to me.
But you
Sure, I kind of agree with you. But right now, the deal is, the deal is on the table. And right now, it's being worked on. So the Ukrainian side can actually give their feedback on it. They can strike some things out. They can amend some things. They can present their own version of it. So right now, let's get rid of Witkoff, Right now, Marco Rubio, I think Marco Rubio is working on it. And Marco Rubio is not Witkoff. Let's agree there.
I agree with that, but if they are actually quote unquote working on it, then whatever ends up coming out of this is going to be significantly different than what it looks like now, which I imagine Russia could use as like an excuse to just walk away from it. So, then it'll just be another thing that nothing
bad thing.
comes out of it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. Anything else?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. I think that, how do I say this? I think that Putin isn't interested in stopping this war because if he was, he would have, you know? He's not gaining much right now.
Well, here, okay, wait. I
And
don't understand.
he-
Hold on, wait. If we think like Russian politics, we think how Russia works, right? These two, I
Sure.
can't say the fucking names, right? But these guys are like decently known Russian people, right? How could they survive in a?
No.
What do you mean no? They're nothing in Russia? I thought at least one of these guys was relatively important. You're saying these guys are speaking.
Ushakov is important. Kirill Dmitriev is pretty much nobody.
Sure, okay. The one guy is important. How could he survive in Russia? How could he survive if he's helping to pass off plans that are literally bad for Russian interests that could be used as leverage against Putin in the future if Putin refuses? It seems like this would be suicide, or he wouldn't even be able to do this.
Sure, but who is going to use it as leverage?
What do you
I'm
mean?
not getting that.
Wait, say that again?
I don't understand. I don't understand who is going to use that as leverage against Putin. Who has leverage against Putin?
Well, you're telling me that if this is a plan that's a type of like bluff that Ukraine could accept and it would be good for them, and then it would make Putin look bad. Like then the issue there is that now you're on Washington's bad side because now Washington has been presented a plan that is supposed to be good for both of you, and now it looks like Russia is the country that's being obstinate in terms of accepting anything. So you've hurt your relationship with the U.S. there. So why would a Russian be involved in concocting a thing like that when you know that Putin's just going to make you fall out of a building or something?
I think that's a good question, kind of. I think that Russians themselves are not interested in continuing this war. You know, not the Russian people, not the Russian elites, not the Russian military. Nobody in this cycle is interested, except the very top. So the Putin and his very small circle.
Okay. Well, how does that change what I said? It's not like Putin. I mean, Putin will care somewhat what his people think, right? He doesn't want to get fucking cooed. But,
Well, yeah, but first of all, right now, you know, sociological surveys have been reliably showing that over the past few years, the majority opinion has shifted towards, you know, favoring peace instead of the continuation of war. And
yeah, but then why?
You know, right now-
Putin could design an off-ramp himself if he wanted to, and he could sell it however he wants, no?
yes, exactly. That's kind
So-
of my point.
but
He
why would he
could
need-
have done this the entire time.
No, not the entire time. If the opinion is shifted, then he can do this. But, like, he wouldn't need some weirdo, like, third party to do this, no?
He doesn't need anything right now. He can just, you know, stop right where he is, as long as Ukraine agrees to it, and they are inclined to, probably. Kind of.
Okay, but then wouldn't this make this a Russian-favored plan, then?
Yeah, well, but kind of, yeah.
I thought your whole
But
point when you came in here was that this was a
Putin-
Ukraine-favored plan.
It can be even more Ukraine favored, and, you know, Russian people would still happily agree to it. But Putin would not, because he had the ability to stop this war for a long time, and he hasn't.
Okay, but then if...
And he's not getting anything new out of this
Sure.
deal that he
I understand, but then
wasn't
that goes
getting
back
before.
to my other question of, like, how could you be expected to survive in Russia by backdooring a diplomatic plan that you know that your murderous leader wouldn't agree to?
I don't think anybody is backdooring anything. I think Putin is doing this intentionally.
He's
I think that
intentionally...
Ushakov is on the...
Okay, just explain to me, because my understanding is if Putin really wanted to end this war, like, he could just do it and
Yeah.
he could sell it to the people however he wants to. Why would he have to make it seem like somebody is going behind his back to do it?
I don't think he's doing that. I'm sorry, did I give that impression?
No, I think that's my claim, because otherwise Putin himself could just
Alright.
be doing this.
Well, it's not, you know, his level. So Ushakov is... he's a real diplomat, unlike Kirill Dmitriev, unlike Steve Witkoff, unlike many people involved. Ushakov is a real diplomat, and he is the sort of person that would be negotiating these kinds of deals,
But
actually.
then why doesn't he negotiate with our real diplomats then? Why is he talking to this retard Witkoff or any fucking or Driscoll or
That's
whatever? Why not go to Rubio or like the U.S. State Department that's supposed to negotiate this stuff?
well, that's not on Russian side. That's the Trump just probably likes to do things this way.
I disagree. I think it's totally on the Russian side. You can choose who you negotiate with and who you talk to. I think it's very much on the side that's choosing to do negotiations. In some cases, I think it's pretty strategic who you choose to negotiate with on the other side, right?
That's true. But my whole thing is that Russia doesn't want this peace deal. They actually don't want to do this. So they are doing as much as possible to pretend to do things and to play Trump while pretending to do things.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I have your perspective. I still think it is a heavily favored Russia plan. I think it just sets them up for more good shit in the future. I think if you're Ukrainian, you're probably not going to want to accept this. And I think it, yeah, but okay. All right.
Anything else?
Fuck you. Get him out. Drag him out. Get this guy the fuck out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
He's gone.
What do you think about that? Oh, wait, not Stativist. Drag him up. He's a good guy. Always remember that name, okay?
You don't want any of the other ones?
Well, we can get them next, but drag that guy.
All right, not Satavis, you're up here.
Hey.
Hi.
So the last guy was talking, like, generalizing Russia as, like, one actor, but you have to disaggregate that. So the Dmitriev and Ushakov are specifically for United States. So the position of Dmitriev is like ambassador to the White House, not even to the US.
Sure.
So his job is basically to wrangle Trump. So the plan that they presented is not like the Putin's side, it's what they think they can get Trump to present as an American plan through Witkov.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think it does.
Sure.
So when they
okay, wait. First, let me start with this. Wait, first of all, you have an accent, so I'll just assume you know everything you're talking about. Okay. Tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, because I get different things from different people, and I haven't studied the history, and I don't fucking know. But like, my understanding is that all the big shit that happens in Russia related to like what families do, oligarchies, media, everything is at some point going to run through either Putin or somebody loyal to Putin. Like in that he'll basically
not directly. So he doesn't like sign off on everything, but like people do what they think
he
wants.
Yeah.
The guy.
As in like there are no like political power plays on Putin. Like if that would have happened, that would come in the form of like a violent, like a coup or an insurrection or something. Like what the Wagner guy tried to do and then died, the meme guy.
Yeah, so he tries to play this role of like the arbitrator of all the bullshit that's happening underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wagner rebellion sort of was the end of their big conflict with the Ministry of Defense between Prigozhin and Shoigu, I think at the time.
Okay.
And so they had this big fight, which ended up with Prigozhin trying to go to Moscow.
Sure, well, which ended up with his airplane getting in an unfortunate accident and him dying, right?
Yeah, but so during that fight,
Mm-hmm.
Putin was not like involved almost at all. He didn't comment on anything, and even when Prigozhin was marching on Moscow, Putin disappeared for like 2 days.
Sure.
Just completely disappeared from the media until it was resolved.
Sure, but like he has strong opinions about everything that's happening, I imagine, right? Like he might not be making public statements about it, but I'm sure privately he's like, this guy has to go, right?
It's hard to tell, really.
Okay.
Like, he's not like acting like Trump. He doesn't like post on Twitter. He doesn't do sort of secret meetings where he shits on everyone.
Well, yeah, but not necessarily secret meeting. I mean, like if I was Putin, I would want this guy dead. He's trying to kill me, right? Ostensibly, wasn't that the goal of the Wagner rebellion? It was that they took their military kind of like up towards Moscow and it looked like they were gonna, there was like a few helicopters or some bullshit, and they were gonna start fighting up there. Was that not what happened, or?
I think it was more of a play for favors with Putin. Like they would march on, they would show that they have power, and then they would get some benefits for their troops in Ukraine.
Okay. Okay.
Establish themselves as like a
legitimate force that had
Russia.
to be reckoned with, and not somebody that Putin could just. Okay, sure. Okay, I understand that. Okay. The only reason I say this is because like my assumption is going to be that all of the different parties that are negotiating in the United States right now, from Putin's side, that all of these at some point are going to be negotiating, doing what they think Putin would want. That there aren't going to be like factions in the Russian government that are officially negotiating with the U.S. that are like Ukrainian interested or whatever, right? Yeah.
not that, like not Ukrainian interested, but they have slightly different sort of focuses.
Sure.
So what will be coming out of Dmitriev and Ushakov will be like what they think the US is most likely to accept as their own plan,
Sure.
which
Okay.
is how it was like shown originally, right? They didn't say this is our Russian plan. It was United States coming out that we have a plan,
Okay. Okay.
and then they put stuff in there that they think Witkoff can present as a reasonable American position,
Mm-hmm.
and then if Ukraine accepts it, it's acceptable for Russia,
Mm-hmm.
more or less. And if Ukraine doesn't accept it, it can be used to tell the Trump administration like, "Oh, Ukraine didn't accept your reasonable plan. Stop all your funding for them."
Okay. Sure.
It's not necessarily the maximalist position, but it's a position that doesn't contain any like non-negotiables for Russia.
Sure.
So
What do you think is going to be the
membership in
outcome of
NATO-
this? Do you think it's just this is like a bluff plan that Ukraine won't accept, and then Russia will use
Yeah.
this as? But like,
Exactly. I
if
think
Ukraine did
they will
accept
say,
this, I still think they're still in a bad spot, aren't they? Russia gets to solidify gains in some of the most heavily fortified territory they haven't been able to take, and then sets
Yeah,
themselves up for
it's fucked.
future. Okay.
It's really fucked. It's both ways fucked.
Sure.
I mean, like a good solution would be what you always say, right? That like Trump is not cucked and actually supports Ukraine to the fullest extent. That would have been a good outcome, but we don't get that.
Sure. Where are you from?
I told you last time, from Belarus.
Oh yeah, shit, Jesus. But you don't live
But I
there
don't-
now. You
don't
live
live
somewhere
there.
weird now, right?
In the Netherlands.
That's
If
weird.
that's
weird.
weird.
Wait, do you feel? Wait, be honest. The people there are really fucking tall, right? Are you a tall person?
I am above average in Belarus, so I used to see like the tops of everyone's head on
Mhm.
public transport. Now I'm average at 184.
Oh, well, aren't you fucking cool? Okay. Okay, that's all I got.
We do
Anything
have
else?
some tall motherfuckers here. Like some of my colleagues are like a head taller than me. They're freakishly tall.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with those people. I agree.
But also Americans are short.
Shut
Whenever I
the
see an
fuck up.
American,
Get him out. Drag him out. Drag him out. Drag him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out, Mouton.
He's out of here. He's already out.
Okay. Wait, I need to get my one Red Bull for the day.
Red Bull.
My one. Don't make fun of me.
Oh, I don't want to be made fun of. Shut up, soy boy. I got him, didn't I?
Guys, I have great news, fantastic news, update for people that are following me trying to find someone in China, okay? I have gotten into contact with the factory, okay? I don't know how there's not one single Destiny fan from China. Nobody reached out to me from China.
Wait, who was that? Hello?
Who's Peach?
What did
He
she
ran.
want? What'd she say?
She's just giving him an update about the Chinese things that she's ordering.
Oh, what the
Puff
Ornaments?
towels.
Oh, the stuffed animals. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, I got in contact with the factory people that used to manufacture the stuffies in China. Very exciting.
Okay. Cool. Wait, do you speak Portuguese? I forgot. Does she really?
Tu fala português.
Oh
Yeah,
my
no, I'm fluent. My dad
God.
doesn't speak English.
Eu
No
falo
shot. I don't believe that.
português
No
via-
way. Is
I
that
speak.
true?
Yes.
No.
He does not speak any English.
You speak Portuguese now?
I speak like
Him?
I speak enough to talk to her dad.
Wow.
A little, yeah. Yeah, he's learned.
Eu falo português.
Tu és português agora?
Ah, sim.
Wow.
Ok. Muito bem.
But I'm having problems. Yeah.
What do you mean you're having problems?
My lord father would find no
This.
rather than concern yourself with him. You would
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You fight well.
That was it.
Small one.
Get out of here.
Ooh. Why?
Ah, you're shooing me off like a mouse.
Wait, do you guys have
Ah!
2 different computers in your house?
Fuck yeah.
Technically 3, because he has 2 PCs.
True.
Why do you have two?
Yeah.
You had me set up on
porn
the fucking.
computer and then the
Jesus.
regular one for streaming.
Christ.
You had me set up on the 2 PC setup a long time ago, and I just haven't moved off of it.
Oh.
Because you don't want to show porn on stream, basically.
Doesn't really matter to me.
Paste.
Well, of course it has to matter to you. You would get banned.
No, I'm on Kick. They don't care.
They do care. This is a platform that is of the most upstanding moral character. So
Bing Jilling. They
I
care.
resent that implication, whatever you were implying.
I too am trying to get a deal.
Are you aware that you have 0 fans in China?
Me?
Yes.
How do you, first of all, why do you think that?
Because I have been secretly coming on here when you're away for the last 3 days trying to find a single fucking fan in China that will help me by going in person to this factory. Nobody.
Maybe.
Not one person has even said, oh, I'm from China, but I hate you and I'm not helping.
Yeah, maybe they don't like you. Maybe you don't have any Chinese fans and they just don't want to out themselves.
Wait, do the boom?
Guys, there's one person here from China. A single person. They're not from there. They're all gonna lie. They're all gonna lie and say that they're from China, but they're not.
It's like 4 a.m. in China right now, okay? They're sleeping.
I don't think it's...
Don't look it up. Kick her out. Drag her out.
She's gone.
God. Close call.
Acnologia.
Oh, God. Not Acnologia. This guy.
You remember me, huh?
Yeah.
We
What's
remember
up?
all the shitty callers.
Wow.
Hey, Mouton, I'll have you know I met him in person.
Ooh. That's more than you can say, Mouton. Have we ever even met in person?
I presented my name as Acnologia. And I did tell you how to pronounce it correctly, but it's okay that you still got it wrong for like the 5th time.
Good. Okay, what do you want?
My point was about, you had mentioned something a couple weeks ago, so I was going to talk about that.
Okay. A couple weeks ago? Okay, go. What?
You mentioned value proposition being kind of like at the root cause of like dating issues basically nowadays.
Okay.
Do you still hold that position?
Yep.
Okay, so how do you reconcile that belief with like education being like a high predictor for like likelihood of being married and partnered?
Is this a mindfuck question, or I feel like it would play right into it? No, people that have education are probably more likely to be able to offer more to their partners in a variety of different ways.
No, I think it's the opposite, where if somebody, like let's say you're a woman who is highly educated, you're less likely to find someone who can fulfill that value proposition.
How are you measuring fulfill that value proposition?
Off of the metrics that you present when you say that there is a lack of a value proposition.
What metrics are we talking about? If you're married, the higher educated you are, the more likely you are to be married, no?
Yes. Now, what I'm saying is, how do you reconcile that with your worldview where you say the reason why there's like women choosing to be single more often or more frequently nowadays, and there's more men that are essentially inadequate in some, like not personally, but in terms of the value proposition they provide to women because women are attaining these levels or attaining these higher levels of education and financial stability. How do you reconcile your worldview that is causing that discrepancy when it is the case that a woman who has these attainments is more likely to be in a relationship, whereas a woman who does not have these attainments and therefore there's essentially, based on what you're saying, more men that can fulfill her value proposition because she is not of the level to demand a higher, income earner or more handsome, taller, whatever fuck Chad type person.
Oh, because there's only so many educated people. You're more likely to stay within like your particular class of people. There's not like this huge pool of like educated men that are going to go and find like uneducated women or whatever. They're going to probably be with other educated women, right?
So you believe that? Yes, but what I'm saying is, so you do believe that you can say the reason for this discrepancy that whoever the fuck presents in dating, whatever the fuck, is because there is a value proposition lack of value proposition that men can offer to women, based on whatever the fuck.
Sure.
But that is perfectly in line with the fact that women who, in theory, demand the highest value person, like if we're operating in like this with this red pill terminology, are the ones who are actually most likely to be partnered.
I'm so confused. I feel like every single thing you're saying, I just feel like is like agreeing with my point, but you're saying the opposite. I'm so confused right now.
Okay,
yeah.
no.
So here's some assumption I'm making. There's probably like a relatively similar amount of like uneducated men and women, medium educated men and women, and highly educated men and women. The higher up the education ladder you go, the more likely it's going to be that the people are just better. It sounds mean, but like better people. They're more well-rounded. They're more mature, whatever. And so at the higher educated levels, like those women are probably having an easier time finding men that they feel like fit their needs out more. As you go down in the education levels, the men are probably getting a lot worse than the women are. Would be my guess. That's my in terms of like
how. So you would say that the misalignment is happening among a specific cohort that is probably the most populous cohort, but that is the cohort that is presenting this issue when it comes to like just a very standard, I guess, average, for lack of a better term, man and woman. That's where the misalignment is. But when you get to higher education levels, higher financial success levels, that is equal or evens out. Or
probably a lot more. That'd be my guess. Yeah.
I don't see how you can reconcile this position with the position that
I'm so confused. I don't understand you keep asking me to reconcile positions, and I feel like they all agree with each other. So what part of this is like inconsistent or isn't holding? Yeah.
Can I ask Mr. Mouton?
Sure.
Mr. Mouton, so if I were to tell you that there is a discrepancy in dating between the genders because of a lack of value that men can generally present, be that, emotional availability, intellectualism, just kind of like personal like ability to kind of like care for oneself and care for others, and say, okay, so that is actually what's driving the divide between men and women, because a lot of women would rather be single than engage with men that cannot offer them these things, because these women don't need these relationships. They have money, they have, friends, support systems, whatever the fuck. If I were to tell you that's the case, and then I were to tell you, oh, by the way, the women with the most money, the women with the most financial and career and educational success are actually the ones who have the least trouble finding partners. To you, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You wouldn't say, oh, well, if that's the case, then women who achieve the highest must really be fucking struggling, because there must be a fucking wasteland of motherfuckers there. You wouldn't believe that logically follows from my previous premise?
Well, no, the men that are occupying those levels are probably going to naturally be just more well-rounded people, just because they are coming from higher class families or going to more educated.
But these men, based on what you're saying, should be the most rare motherfucker on the planet, right?
I mean, relatively. I mean, like if you're a really high class man, you got a lot of choices available to you, no?
So who are these women that are quote unquote high class partnering with?
Other well-educated from well-off to do men.
They're not partnering with losers.
I know they're not, but that's what I'm saying.
But they're partnering with other well-off to do men, right?
If I tell you that I'm highly selective, and if selectivity is correlated to say the least with what one's own market value, demands, then I feel like it logically follows that the individuals with the highest quote unquote market value, if we're using these terms, would have the least options. But it's literally the exact opposite. And you're saying that makes perfect sense. The people with the highest market value have the most options. That is what this data technically bears out. So you're saying, yes, that perfectly makes sense. And that also agrees with my belief that there is a lack of value proposition that men can offer to women. And that is what's driving a divide in terms of relationships and like desirability and all this other stuff.
Okay, let me try to. Okay. When I'm talking about like gay shit, like emotional availability, like I'm talking about like a floor or like a threshold. This is like a thing that you can kind of like have or not have, kind of. But like highly educated women are not looking for men with like the most maximally available emotional availability. Like these are traits that as you climb the class or education ladder, I imagine are just going to be more likely to flip on as you get higher up, even for men. So if you're a highly educated woman, you're a high class woman or whatever, the men that are just naturally in your field are probably going to have these traits as well. So these people are generally going to align well and probably pair off well, which I think tracks with like the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be married or in a relationship. As you go down that ladder, and you run to less educated people, not only do you have the issue of people making less money and all this other stuff, but the men are also starting to lack a lot more basic social training that are like that is below that threshold, and they can no longer capture a partner using just income because now the other women at that level are working. Is what I'm saying. Is this
okay?
Okay. what part of this is not tracking or is incongruent with what you were saying? Or
I believe that tracks, but I think that, like, I think what you just said does track, and I think that makes sense. But I also think that if the kind of like this premise is based off of kind of interpretations of data that suggests that, you know, it might be women, or I guess like Gen Z or young millennials, men and women, there's like a reverse pay gap. And there's also obviously like a very large educational attainment gap that's, well, technically has existed since like the late 70s in terms of women graduating college more than men. Been about 50 years of that being the case, but obviously the gap is getting larger now. And these are the kind of data points that you use to inform kind of like the premise that I'm challenging. So then with what you just said, those data points wouldn't actually really play into that premise at all. That's just, you're kind of just like, that's just a descriptive reality that you believe to be true, which I believe to probably also be the case. But I would say that if we're going to say, oh, I think that the fact that there's like a 66 to 33%, 66.67 to 33.3% like college like bachelor's degree ratio, and because of the fact that, you know, women in like young millennials and Gen Z earn more, that these are factors that play into my premise, then I think that what you just said can't possibly be the case.
Yeah, I don't think the income stuff matters anywhere near as much as men seem to think it is. But I think the reason why men think that it matters a ton is because in the past, men have only been taught to capture women using income, and absent income, they have nothing. So in higher and middle class situations, like the men are probably just generally more well-rounded. In a lower class situation, what you're basically telling the woman to do is not only are you both working, the woman also needs to be a babysitter for her male partner who's too emotionally retarded to handle his own feelings or to be able to be like an equal partner in a relationship. So you might both work or whatever, but the guy is, you know, can build a computer and can be a software playful guy or whatever, but is too retarded to like do the laundry or, you know, clean the kitchen or whatever, or won't like that. I think that's my proposition. That's the issues.
Okay. Yeah, I had an objection. Well, that's not even necessarily an objection, because like I said, I pretty much agree with that as well. But there was something else you said that I didn't think that I was going to object to, but I lost track of what I was going to say. So the only other part that I will say before I get out of your hair with this is I've challenged you on this before, but I was in a rush and then you weaseled your way out of it.
Okay. You fucking weasel ass bitch.
but I also don't agree with the premise. I don't agree with the idea that the reality that we exist in today, or the society that we occupy today, is one that is ill-equipped to handle kind of like an egalitarian family or, you know, partnership structure. I can speak for myself, and I can speak anecdotally, and I'd be curious if you would say the contrary. But I believe that most people today that are young, like anyone below like the age of like probably like 35 to 30, like they had like their mother probably worked, their grandmother probably worked. I think it's not the case that like young men today exist in a world that is not prepared to deal with like an egalitarian family structure. It's not like people maybe in the South, but at least I can say in the more kind of like urban areas, it's just like you have no concept of a world that exists where women are not working. You don't have examples of women who didn't have to work to kind of like do what they needed to do. Like that's just, so I don't understand why you kind of like point to this as like as a symptom of why like there's like an adjustment, like an inability to adjust to like the modern landscape that like young men struggle with, when young men never existed in a world. And that's not even like never, like it's been like 70, 80, 90 years since it was really the case that you're growing up in a world where women are actually kind of like deprived of like all of these fundamental rights and unable to do
so
anything.
Real quick, you say 70, 80, 90 years. My guess, I haven't looked it up. You can look it up. My guess is that even today, men are more likely to work than women. And in married households, the woman is far more likely, probably 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 more likely to stay at home with the kids than the man is. That'd be my guess. Now, they might...
I think if you were to poll anyone, like, you think that's true for millennials and younger?
Probably, yeah.
There's literally no shot, dude.
You think that it's equal 50-50, the man is just as likely to stay home with the kids as the woman?
I think that it might not be equal 50-50, but I think if someone were to tell you that, wait, no, just likely to stay home, no, but just likely to stay home at all, I would say if one person is staying home, probably the woman is far more likely, but I would also say that the odds of anyone staying home are extremely low.
I think that as you hit like middle class, I think that it's probably more likely that there is somebody staying home, at least for the first 5 or 6 years of life.
And when you say more likely, you mean what, like 1 in every like 100 relationships probably, right?
Yep. I'm gonna guess before I look it up, because maybe I'm really wrong. I just looked up the stat. So 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents are dads. So 4 to 5. So 80% of the stay-at-homes are moms. My guess is going to be once you're middle class or higher. My guess is going to be that before age 6, I'm gonna guess 30 to 50% have at least have a stay-at-home parent. But maybe that's way over. I don't know. Let's find out. How many families have a stay-at-home parent for young children? Okay, so it looks okay, I see different things, but this, I'm going by the fucking AI answer here. This says roughly 1/3 of U.S. families with children under 12 have a stay-at-home parent. So, okay, so yeah, okay. And of those stay-at-home parents, the majority of those are going to be moms, right?
4 and 5, based on
4 to 5, yeah.
Whatever. Okay. So you would agree it's the case that most people deal with like households that have kind of like dual income.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, sure.
And you'd probably also agree that in more expensive places of living it's probably even higher, right? Because I think that probably tracks.
That's really hard to say. Because I have two different intuitions that would pull me in two totally different directions. One would be that the obvious one is that, well, they're more expensive, so you need 2 working parents. But then the other intuition is, well, they're more expensive, so wealthy people are going to live there, which means it's more likely that it's just a really wealthy guy earning something. But I don't know the actual answer to that. On the flip side of this, though, are you saying that you think that for a long time, men and women are getting equal training in things like household chores?
No, I don't.
Okay,
think so.
do you think that men and women are getting equal training when it comes to like socialization, or I don't like to use the term emotional intelligence because it's very broad, but just like being able to like have a conversation, be interested in a person, be like aware of your feelings, and being able to express yourself in more ways than just like hitting somebody or punching somebody?
I'm not exactly sure I would say equal training, but I would say probably negligibly different, and different in kind and negligibly different in effectiveness or capability. I do agree that I think men generally, naturally, are just less emotionally stable when it comes to things like aggression. So you could train a man and a woman, or a young boy and a young girl, the exact same, and the boy will just be more likely to lash out. All else equal. I also
don't
question
you think it's kind of
after
wait real quick? Isn't it so like not to do like biology, but like isn't that kind of weird if we go to biology? Wouldn't we expect women to be the more unstable ones, given that they have to deal with these like insane fucking hormone cycles every month, and men's are relatively even? Like, why would men be the ones?
No, I actually probably wouldn't. I wouldn't say that, because I think there's a couple things at play when you ask that question. So first, I would point to, I think when we talk about unstable hormones and stuff, I think this is tangential, but it kind of plays into like when people talk about like who's like more horny, men or women, and then like there's either like trans men who start taking testosterone and like, oh wow, I got like or just bodybuilder women who start taking testosterone like, oh wow, I got 1 trillion times more horny. It's like I think that kind of speaks to something, but that's not the main thing I was saying. I also think there's also a conflation with like emotional instability. I think emotional instability and like anger management are obvious. Like anger management is obviously a part of emotional instability, but I do think these are different things. These are colloquially understood as different things. Yeah. So I would say a lot of the basically it's sexist, but a lot of the sexist kind of like associations that we assign to women, I think a lot of those probably are true when it comes to like hormone imbalances due to like things like menstrual cycles. But I still think the testosterone overpowers that so heavily.
Well, Limiter, thanks for the 5 good subs.
Men and women, that I don't think that really a lot of men are just stably unstable, if you understand what I mean.
Okay, that's interesting. I would immediately, I think that even if I were to grant that to be true, I think this can very easily be trained out of a person, socially trained out of a person. And then my example to this would be, I'm sure that if we look at the difference between like violent crime rates, these probably track very heavily along socioeconomic lines. That like wealthy men are probably far less likely to engage in domestic abuse, domestic violence, violent crime versus like the more poor you become or are.
I'm sure that's the case, but one, they'll always be far more likely than women of the same socioeconomic status, and two, I would just say as a rule of thumb, they probably just have they probably it's you spoken to it before. It's kind of like they understand like, okay, well, I will lose more if this were the case. I think you could take a man in that position, and if you strip him of all of his resources, the likelihood that he would engage in some sort of physical violence against someone or in a fight or whatever, it would probably skyrocket. I don't think it would be the case that because he's in this position for the rest of his life, he is now like far less predisposed than somebody with lower socioeconomic status, regardless of the status that he maintains for the rest of his life, to engage in some sort of violent act. That would be my time.
Versus like a woman, that might be true, but my guess is along the lines of women, it's probably also true that as you go down through the classes, like poorer women are more likely to engage in violence than wealthier women as well. Like poor people in general are just more likely to engage in violence, and that could be something that's like trained out of you pretty hardcore, I think. But
I do think you can train it out. I don't think that I don't think regardless of it, like if I were to say, I think that men and women are socialized relatively, not in the same kind, but to relatively the same effect regarding emotional stability. I don't think that necessitates training aggression out of men. I don't think most people would even want to do that. I think a lot of men can be socialized well and still kind of be trained to, glorify aggression. I think men naturally, I think.
Hold on, wait. We're talking about way different types of aggression. You're talking about like some romanticized version of aggression. I'm talking about like the ability to control your impulse. No, I'm not talking about football. When we talk about aggression as like emotional instability, we're not talking about football. We're talking about men that like destroy shit or beat shit or get into fights or stuff like this.
Yeah, but I would also, if we're going to talk about kind of like correlation, I would definitely say that men who are probably report slightly higher levels of all types of aggression are probably, if you were to take the hardest hitting men, I don't know, in the hardest hitting like defensive backs on a football team, you probably find some correlation there too. I don't think these are completely separate from each other. I get what you're saying. They're not the exact same thing, but I think one informs the other, or at least they both are informed by the same kind of mechanism.
I think they would be like, you would still find these like correlations, but on a graph, they would be like lines that would like track pretty heavily, but they'd be two very separate lines. I don't know how to explain this, but let's accept that. Sure, but just backing up, I guess. So what is your, so macro view. Wait, Mouton, what was your question?
Would you rather fuck a hot femboy or an ugly girl?
Very well.
I probably ugly girl, obviously. I think it's hard to be an ugly girl, to be honest.
Okay.
But if like a girl that I would find ugly, or a girl that like society would find ugly.
Society would find ugly, yeah.
A girl that society would find ugly.
See, I'm going hot femboy.
Why?
Because they're hot.
But okay. Fair enough.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Sorry, okay. Backing up. Okay, so 35,000 foot view or whatever, flying.
Mm-hmm.
What is your hypothesis? What do you think the main problem is that needs to be fixed?
It's going to be boring. I think, okay. So I think generally it can be chalked up to social media, and not social media like abstractly social media, like the way that men and women engage in social media from young ages, especially our generation. I think that, is like very clearly the obvious dividing line between young millennials and Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Just the prevalence and blossoming of social media is clearly the dividing line that separates all sorts of gender relations, compared to older millennials. And
can you elaborate more? What do you mean by that? Like social media engagement?
Well, I think it amplifies a lot of fears and insecurity in everyone, and I think that just makes having relationships more difficult. And I think when people are more insecure and people are more scared, they kind of like retreat into things that they find comfortable. And then wait.
Do you think that men are made more insecure by social media than women are?
I think that social media makes women insecure in a different way than men. I think that there's enough external validation beyond social media that is able to kind of suppress some of the insecurity that arises in women. So a woman might think she's ugly because she's comparing herself to other women on social media with like filters and makeup and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, she can go outside and will probably get hit on. Not that she would want to get hit on, but it'll probably happen. Whereas a guy will never have his kind of like, especially an insecure guy who's not conventionally attractive, will never have those things that he's seeing kind of like counteracted by like real life interactions, or at least not anywhere to the same extent as women. So I think that is a big difference where like there's the lack of external validation to like in any capacity.
Sure, you know that for
makes-
like a woman, like having a random guy hit on you or whatever, that's not like validating, right? That's just like an expectation. They don't get anything out of that.
I think that's a bit of a simplification. I agree that they expect it, but I do think that without it, I think it is validating. I just think that it's so prevalent that it's kind of like it's not even like inflation. I don't know how you would describe it, but it's just like it's like a higher sea level, if you know what I mean. Like if sea level's like somewhere in one place and it's a little higher, like I would say for women, I would say like that creates like a higher kind of like sea level. So even if like they're in their minds like, okay, I'm not validated, I still think that kind of like somehow, some way like that inherently creates like this baseline level of validation that is still above that of a man who never receives any external validation, even if they don't consciously process it as, oh wow, that makes me feel prettier or whatever.
Very well.
But I think there's other things too. I mean, I also think, the boring answer is, like some like third wave feminism stuff that kind of demonize a lot of men. I don't know. To me personally, like I think a lot of stuff there kind of created a very kind of like toxic, like us against them mentality. And I understand it. I just think that's another thing too. I think just generally a lot of men do not have like there's not like a male solidarity, if you know what I mean. Like I don't.
Okay, wait, hold on. Hold on. We're gonna because I disagree with almost everything you're saying. Hold on. Okay.
But I'm right.
Well, I don't think so.
Fair enough.
Women getting random compliments from people doesn't do anything. There is no secret validation. It's like an expected thing. Like if she didn't get it, it would be a huge issue. But like that's this like a woman's whole life is kind of geared around at least like looking fuckable.
Would you at least be willing to stipulate that there are some compliments that they can receive in public that are validating? Or the case that you believe
they would be exceptional. They would be exception, like from exceptional men, maybe, but not from an ordinary person. It wouldn't.
No.
Yes.
They'd rather be complimented by other women.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that is a different mechanism is at play there. I think kind of like to Destiny's point, what's there is that compliments from another woman does not come with like a bit of an intrinsic threat. So I think it's just a lot more.
Well, not even the threat. It's that they're like a compliment from a woman means something because a woman's life is oriented still socially around like being fuckable. And if a woman's complimenting you, it's because, oh, she must think you look good, which is like a nice compliment. If a guy's complimenting you, well, he's supposed to because he wants to fuck you, right?
Well, hang on a second. Well, there's multiple things kind of being asserted here. We cannot assert the inundation with compliments from men, that we cannot assert that somehow like devalues like male compliments while then also bringing up compliments from women. Women compliment each other.
Hold on, wait. I'm not saying anything devalues anything. I'm just saying that that's.
You said it doesn't mean anything, but we're talking about women do obviously value compliments from women. Women compliment each other all the fucking time.
Yes, yeah. But I'm saying the reason why
the prevalence of compliments is diminishing the value of them.
Well, I'm saying the reason why women value compliments from other women is because those compliments come off as more genuine. Like, oh, this person must legitimately like the way that I look, or they think that I'm, attractive.
Regardless of their volume, even if they get a lot, even if it's like a shit ton of compliments. You don't think the volume decreases the value? Because I felt like that was why you were saying that.
No. I'm not. I literally explicitly said that was. I said it was because for men, the reason why a man is complimenting you is because he's trying to get you to fuck him, right? And that's kind of the expectation that all men are trying to fuck you at all points in time. So it's not like.
And you said you think it would take an exceptional. It would be exceptionally rare for that sort of compliment to be validating in any meaningful way.
Yeah, it would have to be like an exceptional man. Maybe it would be different, right?
Like Superman.
Or just...
Yeah, but if we just say there's some base level of quote unquote exceptional men, and when we also accept the fact that a lot of men are just looking to have sex with women, I think we can certainly agree on the fact that what society might deem as an exceptional man would not restrict himself to just what he deems to be exceptional women. He would probably, kind of want to spread his love, so to speak, to any woman that would, because a lot of men are just willing to do that, which is completely, that's fine.
I think that's
the case, right?
I think once you've hit the upper echelon of things that you can fuck or hook up with or date, no, I don't know if these guys are just hitting up necessarily like every single woman.
I think there's I think there's kind of like a low hanging fruit sort of like kind of like thing that might counter that. but but it's okay. We can. I'm trying to recenter.
Sure. Okay.
Where were we?
Sorry. Yeah. So going back, I don't think that the random compliments are necessarily making women feel good about themselves, or giving them some baseline.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah, I think that they need these things. These are literally like an oxygen type thing. Like if they're not getting them, they're literally failing to fulfill their very, very, very basic role in society as being like a kind of like a male fuck object. So I don't think that they necessarily feel good if they're getting these compliments. It's just like, okay, cool, I'm still a woman, basically.
Okay. So do you think that I think I'll accept that I'll accept the case that
the only reason I'm bringing this up is because
the
only reason I'm bringing this up is because my feeling is that like social media, I'm pretty sure generally I would say plays worse into women's insecurities than male insecurities. Although maybe that's changed a bit as of recently, but I think in general I think that's true. But that's the only reason I'm bringing this up. But I think we disagree on that point.
Yeah, no, I heavily disagree with that actually, because I think the way that men and women engage in social media is not completely different, but different enough to where, well, not even, okay, I would actually say probably almost completely different. I think a lot when we're talking about like insecurities, I think there definitely seems to be more warm spaces on the internet for women to engage, and that's by virtue of women creating those spaces and like kind of curating those spaces, even if it is the case that there's some, bickering or whatever in those spaces. I think generally speaking, men engage with social media, at least, or young men engage with social media a lot less healthily.
Sure.
And a lot more combatively. I don't even want to necessarily say it's less healthy.
I don't disagree with that at all. But like, who's the main driver of that? Men or women?
Men are the main driver of that.
Yeah. So not to be the super feminist cuck shit or whatever, but like,
no, I agree with you.
Sure.
I feel like that's feminist take, but
I think that's part of the argument of like, men are the ones that are driving like toxic male behavior, that are reducing the positive socialization of men, that are making them less capable of like intelligently, emotionally engaging with partners like women, that are just reducing the value add.
Well,
whatever, right?
Okay, well, that's the thing. See, I don't think, okay, I'm sorry, you're saying a bunch of things that I disagree with.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that I'm not blaming women for the case that more warm spaces exist on the internet for women. I think that's a good thing. I think when we're talking about how social media feeds into insecurities, I think it's just the case that the way men engage with social media is bad and negatively impacts those insecurities, or at least does not alleviate them. So when we're saying that social media never, I think maybe on a very superficial like appearance level, there could be like or there probably is an imbalance like strictly on physical appearance, but I think in terms of just like insecurity, like as a kind of like holistically as a person, I definitely think that there's kind of more like buffers and like kind of like antidotes that exist in traditionally or more generally female spaces to quell a lot of the insecurities that come along with like personally than in male spaces. And I think men don't engage with social media in as constructive or as kind of basically in as constructive of a manner. So I think that, yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that social media is more kind of like destructive for women. I think strictly if you're talking about parents, maybe, but I don't think that's substantive enough to kind of like tip the scales based on just the way that men and women generally, especially young men and women, generally interact with social media as a whole.
Okay, what is your takeaway from this then?
Which part?
I guess what do you think would need to change on social media, and who can change it?
What do I think would need to change? I think that wait, hold on. Something you said about being able to emotionally engage. Oh yeah, I'll answer that question, but I will say beforehand, before I forget, that I do actually disagree with the idea. I disagree with the premise of like being able like emotional engagement and being able to engage healthily with the opposite sex is like a uniquely male problem. I don't think the men are great at it, but I don't think it's a male problem. I think that's a human problem.
You think that men and women are equivalent when it comes to emotional engagement with the other sex?
I think that yes.
Why do you think that?
Men and women are roughly equivalent. Well, it's kind of like I don't know the name of the word, name of the term. I'm sure like Alex O'Connor could fucking name it, but there's like if I were to not think that, then I would think that basically the majority of interactions, it's kind of like accusing like women of being like emotional like predators, almost like just innately. Like if it were the case that basically like on a balanced probabilities, like a general interaction between a man and a woman in any sort of like romantic or emotional interpersonal capacity, like it's like men are essentially like just like incapable. Like, I guess I'll ask you, if this were the case, would you not expect it to be the case that men are being emotionally manipulated? But
so kind of you're
at scale
loading
by
it.
women?
Yeah, you're loading it really negatively, but like I feel like you're kind of discovering or stumbling into what the main complaint is that yeah, the average man kind of has the emotional capacity of like a child, and this is where the reduced value proposition comes from for a lot of women to want to date just like an ordinary guy. Is he's kind of like emotionally retarded.
Okay, so it's basically like would you so how big of an issue do you deem emotional manipulation to be in terms of women emotionally manipulating men?
Well, I wouldn't call this
'Cause it
necessarily
seems like-
emotional manipulation, but I also would say that like most women, you don't necessarily want to have to be, the average person wouldn't want to be manipulating their partner. They just want somebody who's kind of like on an even keel emotionally with them. So they would just not date those people.
Yeah, but it also might be the case that the average person might find someone who's not necessarily even, like, there might be a sufficient level of emotional maturity that one might have, and you would still, based on what you're saying, I would still assume that you think that the woman probably still has the edge in that compartment, right? And I think that's probably fine, but if that is the case,
well, no, like I
then
said,
it seems like you would see.
I'm viewing this as a bit binary, that like it's either a thing that you kind of have like awareness of, and then if you do and you work on this, it's like it's good. This isn't like what is your like what is your emotional capacity, you know, to be a good partner? Is it like on a scale from 1 to 10? I would view this as like, is it something that you're aware of or not? And then if you are aware of it, like you can be like pretty good at it or very good at it. And then if you're not aware of it at all, then you're probably always gonna be pretty shitty at it. But that's it. It's not like a sliding scale where like women are at like 7 or men are at 4, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so if you were doing, let's say you're just doing some sort of like regression, right? And there's like a binary female indicator. If that when that female indicator is 1, like what are you saying? Like the coefficient of that is like, how significant is it? Do you think being a woman in terms of predicting like an incident, like having that emotional maturity?
I would say that it's very high in terms of like that threshold, because I think that's part of like the training that women get emotionally, like just in being in society. I think
just in their whole fucking life.
Yeah, I'd say generally it's pretty high. That like I would view for women that's turned on anywhere from like 85 to 95% of the time would be my guess.
I feel like
how would you
the time that a guy is like the most emotional is when they're talking to a girl. They're never gonna be like, you're never gonna go to your bro and fucking get super emotional with them. If anything, you're gonna get that way when you're talking to like a girl who's a friend or a girlfriend or something like that, which I think just proves that women are usually more emotionally available / smart.
I agree that it is the case that if a male is or a man is to kind of like open up and speak deeply about their emotions, there's a higher than 50% chance it would be with a woman. I don't think that proves what you said it proves, because I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think that just might kind of come down to how guys like tend to naturally interact with each other.
Sure. So I would say that I would say that this is really, really, really bad. Because I think that what happens is then you have no natural emotional training yourself because you just don't practice it with friends. And then this is, I'm going anecdotally now, but like one of the most common complaints that I hear from women who start dating is basically the guy that they're dating, if they don't have much dating experience, that's why women tend to stay away from guys without much dating experience, is that they end up being their therapist / mom for the first like month, because it's like the first time a guy's even had practice opening up emotionally. So what's appropriate to say and not to say, what counts as trauma dumping, not trauma dumping, what counts as being like emotionally manipulative versus not. Like people could be emotionally manipulative without like trying to be, on the guy's part, in terms of just like the things he's feeling, that this is like not a good scenario. And there's no reason why a guy can't be, you know, emotionally intelligent enough to know what's appropriate or not appropriate to share with somebody. But if the only training you get from that comes from romantic partners, it's like, I think that's really bad.
I think when you say the only training you get from that, I think that's a bit reductive, because I would say that while you might not talk about kind of some of the same stuff with like a male friend that you might talk about with like a girlfriend or a female friend, female family member, I think there is still emotional training that is constantly happening when you're hanging out with male friends. So I don't think it's the case that this is a muscle that isn't working out. I think it's just...
What is the give me like examples. What kind of emotional training do you think you're getting with a guy friend?
When to call your friend gay or not, if they're getting mad.
No, honestly, I would say, I mean, it depends. Like if you play something like fucking like ranked in like any sort of game, and you have to kind of work on like not shitting on Because when you're playing with randoms, you can fucking vent to your friends all the time about how these randoms are ass, but like you actually can't do that when you're playing with your friends. If you value their friendships, you kind of got to introspect, or you have to work on constructive ways of kind of like figuring out how to improve like collaboratively. I think
you could, but I would say that those are I would say those are the more exceptional men. Like this is a total fucking guess, and I don't know, you could run this experiment or watch streamers or whatever, but my guess is like if you were to take 10 men and 10 women that have that have no experience playing games, and you were to throw them all in games with each other, that like the guys would be ribbing each other way more hardcore. Like if you were to listen to the guy comms, he'd be like, I don't even know what this does. And the guy's like, oh, you suck, you're fucking it up. Like, oh, like that would be like the average comms. Whereas the girls would be like, oh my God, like good job, you did a thing. Like, oh, you got him, good job, or whatever, right? Like it would generally be a lot more positive, you know, a lot more like building on each other rather than guys who just like tend towards, you know, kind of like tearing each other down. Not to say that's necessarily bad. I enjoy that kind of banter or whatever. But like if that's all you can do, right? It's not good.
Yeah, I also think that I mean, I think that also kind of plays into like superficiality that I think that can potentially be more prevalent when it comes to female interactions, and then like and that, not to say that that's necessarily bad, but I do think that a lot of men, like it might just be by virtue of testosterone, and probably has to do with socialization as well, are kind of more willing to kind of like go like, and this is extreme. This isn't necessarily what we're saying would happen right now, but I think it kind of feeds into the extreme of a man will definitely be more likely to go scorched earth over this sort of thing. Even if they kind of regret it and like kind of like reconcile, like I think that happens a lot where like you kind of like you might not a lot, but it happens where like you have like a big argument, big kind of blowout, and then you guys kind of like maybe like a day or two or hours passes and you can kind of get over it. I think that's more like, I think that might just be a more genuine expression of emotion in a lot of cases, whereas one might want to kind of like preserve some sort of air of cohesiveness or by kind of like lying about how they truly feel about something. So I don't know. I think that's just a very kind of multivariate, case-dependent thing where I wouldn't necessarily say that being more encouraging is good or kind of like what you should do. So I don't think
why not
really. Because I think that if you know that what you're going to say to somebody might hurt their feelings, you will water it down, and I think that, or you will soften the blow. You will kind of treat them with kid gloves, and I think that is not helpful in a lot of cases. And I think I've learned that in my experience with relationships sometimes where there's sometimes I've dealt with women where it's like they can't really take, like you can tell, like you say something that you feel like is not even necessarily harmless, but like definitely not kind of like some sort of like catastrophic, cataclysmic like indictment on their character. And next thing you know, they're fucking crying because they're like, oh, no one's ever fucking talk to me like that, whatever. It's like, are you fucking serious? Like my brother talked to me like this when I was fucking 5 years old. You're saying you're in your 20s and no one's ever said something like this to you. You've never dealt with this sort of interaction before. I feel like that's not too uncommon, and I think that that's a problem because then it's like, oh, like why do I feel like I need to be on eggshells now?
Sure. So okay. So I want you to know. Okay, how old are you?
25.
Okay. I'm 36, okay? But listen, man to man, okay? I agree with you, okay? Fuck it, okay? So I tend to communicate very negatively. It's a problem I actually have in relationships where I just like, I'm just very critical of everything. I don't say very many good things. It's even if I'm thinking them, like in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, you should know that like I think this, but I don't ever express it, right? The issue with, so as men, so I think we tend to have a more functional view of things, but that functional view is playing into what I said before, that it is neglecting the whole emotional paradigm of how people communicate with each other. So for instance, if I think that somebody is fucking up hard, okay, and I'm a man, I might be more likely to think in the functional version of just like calling out the fuck up in exactly the terms it needs to be called out to show them, you know, this is the fuck up and this is what you need, blah, 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 right? But for a woman, I think I'm generalizing a lot here, but for a woman, I think what you call fake shit as a guy, right? Another person would view this as, well, the fact that you're even willing to do fake shit shows that you are aware enough to know that the things that you're saying are having an impact on the other person, and that that's an impact that needs to be accounted for when it comes time to communicate with somebody. So somebody being quote unquote fake with you, they're not just doing that because they're too scared to say the real thing, the actual hardcore truth of what's going on. They're doing it because they know that you're going to process this as a human being, that you're emotional on your side as well, and that if you go quote unquote full function, you're actually going to get less function out of it because the other person's just going to get mad. Like you said, like, oh, well, they're too mad to even accept the criticism and everything else. And now everything is like, you know, wow, they couldn't even accept this or acknowledge this. And the issue is that I think as men sometimes, like it's very easy for us to read into that world of like, oh, well, functionally, this is the correct thing to do. But the reality is, and again, not to be too much of a SJW cuck to women, but like when it comes to like leadership training or people that are good leaders or CEOs or team leads or whatever, these are always people that are incredibly cognizant of how they communicate with their staff. You're not going to have very many good bosses who are like the whiplash guy, right? Your good bosses are going to be people that motivate you and make you feel good to be part of the team, and the feedback they're giving you like makes you feel like you're a valued member and all this bullshit, right? So I think that like what appears to be, I'm only saying this because you're kind of giving me this idea of like, oh, well, they just, they lie to each other. It's like, well, it's not so much it's a lie. It's like an agreement that both sides are making. Like if somebody's criticizing somebody, they know that they fucked up. But if you say it in like the most harsh way possible, the subtext that you're delivering is like, oh, so you fucking hate me, I guess? And now you're trying to be cruel as well? Because if you just say the same thing, but like not as like much of an asshole, like it lets both of us kind of like save face a little bit. I think that would be an example I would say of kind of like the emotional training that I think is a little bit more organic when it comes to women, but men don't get this at all. I kind of gave a whole spiel there.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Yeah, I wasn't trying to give the impression that it's kind of like, oh, like they're lying. I guess I was sort of getting more at sometimes like there does come a point where one has to decide like how they are going to approach a particular situation with like an issue. Like it could be the case that like you can offer constructive criticism, be amiable, you could be agreeable, be cohesive, kind of like demonstrate sort of like an understanding of where they're coming from, all that stuff. But that and I agree that generally speaking, I would say women are definitely better at that. But I would say I don't think this is something that's necessarily difficult to learn beyond. I think you can meet like one person who can kind of teach you this stuff pretty quickly. It doesn't have to be like a close relationship. But I would also say,
well, real quick, I agree with that. But also like women don't want to be your teacher, right? This is going back to the mom thing, where a complaint that I hear a lot is when I feel like when I start to date a guy who doesn't have much experience, I'm basically his mom or his training wheel first relationship, where it's like, wow, this guy is going to be such a good boyfriend to somebody else in the future because he sure as fuck doesn't have enough emotional training right now to be a good boyfriend for me.
Well, I would say like the teaching can come from like just like you. I think you can kind of like learn it like by like reading context clues of like a lot of like if you have social interactions generally, I think you can kind of learn that. I guess I would probably say that like if you get like much younger, it's the case that like those relationships are probably
I agree that you can have the social interaction, but the social interactions would have to come from interactions with women, because men won't show that they have an issue with stuff like this because you look like a pussy, you look weak, right? So it necessarily has to come from.
Well, I wouldn't
women.
say that. Like if you think about like coaches on like teams, on like team sports and stuff, like a lot of the time, like you do kind of see that. Well, I mean, if you have like a good like a coach that's like a good mediator, or a coach that's like a good motivator, you do see them kind of like like picking up like or kind of like
talking about like a father figure kind of.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think in general, at least in my personal experience, coaches on sports teams and stuff are going to be more positive male role models. I definitely agree with that. Still not quite the same though, because this is not like you're going to have a little bit of a difference from a person to person interaction versus like a I'm trying to use transactional analysis, not parented child, but like versus like a teacher to student interaction is going to be a bit different. Like you should be able to do this like on an equal footing as well. Yeah. So I don't know if you necessarily learn it the same as it would come. I don't know if people would necessarily think like, well, my coach taught me to. My coach socializes with me like this, so I'm going to socialize with my friends like this. I don't think people organically or naturally would carry that over. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I guess I would ask you if I were to tell you that there is a situation where there's a group of people, you don't know the gender of these people, and
reasons are if your mic's open.
Walking on eggshells.
Wait, sorry, repeat that question.
Yeah, I guess if I were to tell you that there were a group of people, you don't know the gender of these people, and a bunch of them are kind of like walking on eggshells around like a particular friend about a particular issue, kind of like neglecting to kind of like tell them the skinny, as my boy Mr. Terrific put it in the new Superman, best superhero movie of the year, by the way. Would you assume, if I were to say it's all men or all women, which would you kind of like put your money on?
Walking on eggshells, if it was about something that was, if they were walking on eggshells with relation to something that's important, I would say
maybe the person is BO. Let's say the person is BO.
I think a girl would be more likely to bring that up than a guy would be.
More likely to bring it up.
Yeah. Like I think that women will be more instructive to their friends when they're fucking up in life, and I think men will be more likely to pull their punches or say nothing. Whereas
really?
men, yeah, for sure.
There's no shot you believe that, dog. I think it's fairly. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I do think both genders will do the good thing you said. But if I were to bet my money, I would say, just based on my experience, and like I said, I'm really not trying to like come off as like I agree with a lot of what you're saying about but I just think like that's like if I say similarly if I were to tell you that there's a group of friends and someone punched somebody else in the face, I would say probably a dude. If I were to tell you the group of friends and
somebody would have punched somebody,
dumb shit.
Yeah,
I would say it's probably obviously more likely to be men. If I were, no, I'm just saying like there's I think generally speaking these balance out more than you probably do. I think you just tend to think it favors one gender over the other. I think it's fairly balanced. This is why I said I think emotionally, in terms of emotional intelligence, I do think it's fairly balanced. But I guess I would just say like there are some instances where I would say like because the fact that you said that makes me think that you really. I'm curious what negative kind of like social group like event or instance could be taking place where you would say it's probably not men, because if you think it would still be men to perpetuate the negative kind of like happening in that instance, like in that case I would just assume every single negative kind of like social interaction would just be more likely to be men, like regardless of what it is, because that's like the only one where I would probably say it's probably more likely to be women in that case.
I feel like if a guy was doing a dumb thing that was small and not that significant, I think his friends would call him out on it, and maybe women would be a bit nicer about it, or you would say maybe pulling punches or whatever. But if somebody was going to make like a life ruinous decision or was doing something that was like severely negatively impacting somebody in the group, I think men are more likely to not say anything and just kind of like let it slide until it explodes into something that's unstoppable or huge. I guess like for examples of this, I don't know if have you ever seen the movie Superbad?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know in that case. I don't know if that movie works if it's two female leads, because if somebody felt really sad that somebody else was going to go off to college and like leave them forever and they weren't going to be friends anymore, I feel like that's a conversation that two women would actively be going back and forth over. But for men, they go through the whole movie never confronting this huge fact until it explodes at the very end. And this is a very like coming of age, young boy, adolescent male story. But if you think of a movie like, have you ever seen what's the book, the Burn book?
Oh, Avatar.
No.
Ban him from this Discord. Sorry, no. Oh my God, what am I thinking of? The girl movie.
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. Have you seen Mean Girls?
I have not.
Oh fuck. Okay. Mean Girls it's a whole bunch of like petty, small, stupid shit, and that's how they like gossip at each other or whatever. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like for guys, I feel like they would just say nothing about the larger shit. And I think this is also I picked two big pop culture references on this where these things only kind of work, I think, for men and women, these stories in particular. But then I would also say that like and then I would also lean into the whole like men are probably more likely to quote unquote suffer in silence and then like kill themselves and nobody even really knows, whereas I think women are more likely to communicate that to other people.
Yeah, I mean I think I agree with everything you said there. I mean, I still have massive disagreements with some other stuff you said, but I think you're correct in that case. I wasn't thinking of it like that, but yeah, I would definitely say, especially one-on-one, I would say I definitely think guys are more likely to have an aversion to kind of like getting to the meat and potatoes of, a particular issue or concern that they have, and that can fester and like explode in a lot of cases. I think that's a good. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there was some other stuff I disagree with earlier, but I'm not exactly sure. I think overall what I was basically saying was that my point. I think that we started on this, and after we got done with you conceding on the selectivity and value proposition point.
So you got owned, Stephen.
Wait, what am I conceding on the value proposition point?
Yeah, you conceded the whole thing. It's not important. But I think the point that I was making after that was essentially that socialization. I don't think that we exist in a world where men lack the socialization to kind of like coexist in an egalitarian manner with like a female partner, because not that men. I'm not saying that men don't necessarily struggle more than women with that. They probably do, I guess. But I don't think it's because now women are working, going to school and stuff. I think there are no young men today who can probably even conceive of a different world unless they live in like a very, I guess like maybe like on a different continent. But if you're an American dude, like you can't conceive of a world where like that's not the case. So I don't think that some expectation of like a traditional woman.
Can you? I don't understand what you mean. Say that again. You can't conceive of a world.
Young men today do not have it. Yeah, young men today do not have an expectation of this mythical traditional like woman that like is parroted by like these red pill like kind of like dumb
I disagree.
people.
I think men do. I think men still do have that expectation to some extent.
How can that be the case? That's why I brought up like the mom and the grandma thing. Like, no, you're growing up in a world where like you don't see a world where women aren't working.
I agree,
so, like,
but the issue, this is the big issue that I have with all the red pill content, is red pillers say that that's the world that you're owed. This is why it comes off as soy, but even that woman yesterday in that video had that shirt that was like, women don't owe you shit, right? Because the feeling is when you listen to men or red pillars talk about the world, the idea is that, well, women should be this way and women actually owe men this world. And when men aren't getting the women that they want, it's because women are making the wrong choice and they're fucking up. And that's why the guidance for men is always, you have to be more masculine. You just have to keep doing the same shit you're doing, but like even more. And hopefully at some point women will come around. And if they're not, then we can blame feminism or some other external factor on why women are all fucked in the head.
And I would agree that a lot of what I guess like red pill people parrot kind of like definitely echoes that sentiment, or pushes forward that sentiment. But I wouldn't kind of like use that I wouldn't use that to diagnose kind of like what we're seeing as a societal wide problem. I wouldn't say the majority of men consume red pill content or have red pill ideology. So I don't think that would necessarily, I don't think that could have such an impact that it would override kind of just like, it's not even conditioning, like override just the reality that we exist in. If one were to say, oh, like some like women belong in the kitchen type thing, it's like, okay, well, there's not a single woman in my family
so I'm curious.
That bill, so
yeah, I don't disagree with you necessarily, but this is part of the problem, right? Is that it feels like women and men are kind of sort of getting different messages. Like, this is my huge problem with conservatives today, and I would argue, like with red pillars, it's kind of the same, is what they're praying for is that they can just basically turn back the clock and walk society backwards. And I don't see very much forward-thinking social training given to men in almost any large male-oriented space. Can you give me an example of a space where you think that is happening that I'm just not seeing? Because I feel like most of the spaces that I see that are giving quote-unquote social training to men, online at least, are basically saying that, like, yeah, women have fucked all of society up. It's all fucked up. Fuck women. They owe us this shit. And they might not say that directly, but almost. Yeah, tell me what you see differently. Where do you see differently? Yeah.
Well, before I kind of want you to re-ask that question, but I think before you re-ask the question, like, I agree that is a message that is being parroted, but I'm curious, like, to what extent do you believe that's actually infiltrating like the general zeitgeist, to where there are a substantial share of men who subscribe to and endorse these sort of beliefs? Because I don't think that's.
I think for young men, I think it's a lot of them, unfortunately. I think that the red pillars and like Jordan Petersons and everything have captured this space like pretty hardcore. Probably is pretty explanatory of that big. It's really big, or it's probably really explanatory of like that big gap in terms of like Gen Z, like male versus female, conservative leaning versus not, or whatever. Sorry, what you were saying?
You don't really see another side of like that. It's pretty much the red pill content, or that's kind of it for men right now.
Yeah,
I don't see
asking,
like there's no big creators.
Yeah, what's the other side, or who's doing the training on the other side? I just don't see this anywhere.
Well, no, the training on the other side is happening.
So can I just jump in and say,
yeah.
Sure, real fast. What's up?
I think part of the problem is like male to male friendships, right? And also the potential what they can be seen as. Because I have good male friends that I'll be open with and emotional with, and and talk and feel that I can talk about my issues. And I think it's really, really important for my romantic relationship that I have the outlet. But it happens in various different friendship circles, including like at the gym and weightlifting, always kind of a supposedly masculine thing. And it is in a sense, but at the same time, it can be also a place where people can talk quite openly and honestly and emotionally. And I think maybe as males, we have a responsibility to have that in our male friendships and to take the weight off our romantic relationships. Isn't that part of the solution here that we're pointing towards?
I would say yeah, but I would say men just don't typically engage that way with other men. We just don't do that, which is a thing that should change, right? If we're saying yeah.
And I would also say I think men do engage with other men that way. I just think it's not as frequent as it needs to be. I think it's kind of generally only in kind of like DEFCON 1, like crisis level or approaching crisis scenarios where like a lot of men feel like, okay, like it's time to open up after like a lot of sort of stewing. And I think a lot of damage can already be done at that point.
Sure. And like, I'm not trying to do like gotchas. I swear to God, I'm not okay. But like the thing that I say sometimes is that like, I feel like sometimes the way that people speak about things, it can like kind of in a way kind of give away, I think, some kind of thought process is like, When you say that,
Here
like,
comes the gotcha.
well, no, I'm trying to gotcha this, but when you say that, like, oh, no, men can engage emotionally with each other, they just kind of like wait until things are at a crisis level to do it. That what you're really saying there is men can't engage emotionally, because that's not emotional engagement. You've already failed at that point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think you're also presupposing that some level of kind of like intervention would necessarily
be better,
like,
would help. Yeah. Before getting to that point, for sure. Yeah.
I think
it's not just about before getting to that point. It's also about looking out for your other friends and, you know, asking how they are, and so preempting it in other people, because it's not just about your own responsibility to open up, but also to be there for other people. And generally, this is what women often are better at. But we can learn from this in our male-to-male friendships. And I think, you know, it already exists. We just need to do more of this. And some of these generalizations, I mean, I see for some people it's completely different from others, right? So I think it's very easy for us to project our own experiences on other people or on society. I don't know, maybe it's the online culture and it's just really toxic, but I think offline, I see lots of good examples and maybe more of them should happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also to say that, yeah, I think it is. I think as a general rule, it would be better. Yeah, I do think we all do have the responsibility to, for one thing, and like check up on each other more. But I would also say to that, like, yes, definitely women are better at that than men. But I would also say, I mean, maybe for me, it's just socialization. Like, I feel like I can open up, but I also feel like a lot of times I don't want to. That's just like anecdotally speaking. So like, if it were the case that someone were to come to me and say, hey, if you're having this sort of emotional tribulations, like you should just be more open, I would say like that would not, to me, that would not be, especially, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah. So we'll do therapy mode. Okay. Let's explore this. Why don't you want to? When you say you just don't want to, why do you say that? Or where does that feeling come from of not wanting to?
I think it has a lot to do with, comfortability and vulnerability, and like comfortability with being vulnerable with people that you don't necessarily kind of like open up to to that capacity, generally speaking.
Sure, but like I'm still, I can't tell if you can tell this now, but like every single thing you're describing to me is like lack of emotional training. Like you keep saying that over and over again in other words. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Like when you say like I'm not comfortable being vulnerable or exploring my emotions with people, even friends, that's an emotional.
Not that I'm
failing,
not comfortable
right?
doing it. It's that I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable doing it to the extent that I think would be is generally prescribed by like the counter sort of like red pill.
Sure, but then the issue you're going to run
culture.
into then is that when you finally start dating a woman, she's going to be the first person that you've ever.
Whoa, I have a girlfriend.
Sure, but sure. Well, for a normal guy, whatever. If you start dating a girl, she's going to be the only person that you've ever explored anything with this depth with. You're not going to be able to navigate these conversations in as efficient as a way otherwise, and then it's going to be okay. Well, I'm basically, for a little bit at least, I have to play this guy's mom. I'm going to do some emotional training with this guy because he doesn't even have any experience. Opening up like this.
I think I agree with most of what you're saying, just without the normative loading. I don't think it's necessarily playing the guy's mom. I think it's that similar.
You don't think it's playing the guy's mom because you think you're. I'm sorry, I'm loading this a lot, but it's because you think you're owed this. Like you don't think it's playing the guy's mom because you think that she owes this to you as a woman.
I think you're, when you say playing the guy's mom, I think that is just a very broad, like very like because like it's not like that's like a weird, that's a very loaded way to phrase that, and that way kind of like suggests like some sort of, to be honest, it sounds kind of
you can load it in your own way. Yeah. You can load it your own way. That's fine.
When you say things like playing this guy's mom, like that is feeding into a stereotype that I'm not saying doesn't even necessarily exist, but like that's not always what's happening. And I'm not even sure I would say that's like 80-70% of the time that's happening. I think that happens. That's just a thing that happens. Like a lot of things happen. But when you're saying like playing the guy's mom, like it's like, okay, is that every instance of a guy like needing to like go through a relationship to like put himself in new situations and like maybe he's uncomfortable with this or that? And that's just a part of the learning process. When you say playing a guy's mom, it's like you think every person or every guy is like automatically going to be some dude who like who's unable to, or any guy afflicted with some sort of like emotional stuntedness is like incapable of not being in a situation where he makes a woman play his mom or makes a girl play his mom. I think that's I think that's a lot more rare than is generally kind of like touted. I think that's.
I think it's super common. But like this, so like this is when I go back to the value proposition thing. Like this is why women are like, why do I have to do like the emotional training wheels for this guy who can't have like who doesn't understand relationships or friendships in the way that I did when I was in 5th grade?
According to who though?
According to the woman and how they interact with each other, and the fact that, like you said in this conversation, that like I don't feel comfortable opening up or being vulnerable to friends and all this other stuff. So now, the woman I'm dating is going to be the first person I've ever done this
excessively.
with. What does excessively mean? The fact that earlier you gave the qualifier as like, well, if it's like the time when you would open up is when things are at a boiling point and they're about to explode, makes it seem like it probably should have happened at an earlier point. No?
Okay, the answer to that is multifaceted. I would say yes, all else equal, assuming that opening up does not lead to other issues.
What other issues would it lead to?
That's the $1 million question. It really depends, because sometimes people use information that you give them against you. Sometimes you say something one day and then it's like, oh, like people might kind of like run with that information, but like your mind changes, and like, or you're gonna go back and like retcon like half of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like a situation just flips on its face, and then you gotta. So it's a lot easier, I think, when like a lot more of the dust is, settled, or a lot more of the pieces are kind of like firmly placed on the board to kind of like analyze the situation at that point and describe to someone else, than it is to kind of like give them sort of like this sort of like drip feed them this information that's constantly changing and like evolving and stuff. I think that's just to me that's just like that's a suboptimal way to go about it. So I think it's so that's why I think.
Okay, sure. So I wouldn't necessarily maybe disagree with what you're saying there, but then again, and I know you're not trying to do this, I don't think you're trying to do this intentionally, but like all of your vocab and your framing here is like all so loaded in that, like, in the direction that I'm talking about. So like what you just described then, right, is that like, so I'll rephrase, and you're not going to agree with how I rephrase because now I'm trying to get you on it, but like you're basically saying that like I wouldn't want to open up or be vulnerable with a bunch of people in my life or around me because I don't know how this is going to be used against me in the future. I don't know if this is going to like turn into some weird shit or whatever. But like what it sounds like then is that you're around a group of sociopaths, and now you've adopted a whole bunch of maladaptive behaviors to survive in that scenario. But you're trying to sell me these maladaptive behaviors as being like developmentally ordinary and normal. But when you get into a relationship with a woman, you don't want any of this to be true anymore. So now all of these behaviors are going to have to necessarily change. But you've already like learned all these maladaptive behaviors from your guy friendships, and it's like, well, what? At this point, you're fucked.
I think at the most extreme example, that's the case. I don't think that's all. I think at the most extreme example, when. If you're like, I don't want to say stupid, but I guess maybe if you aren't like just kind of like, if you have low, like if you lack the ability to kind of like discern certain situations, that could be the case. But I think that you can operate in a way that one might label maladaptive, but like not do so in a way that is just like kind of like perpetually detrimental to your development as a person. I think you can kind of understand like, what I'm doing now isn't necessarily optimal for me in the future, but for XYZ reason, like any reason, like I just kind of feel like I
understand what you're saying. That maladaptive behaviors don't work this way, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to develop in this way that I have to survive, but I know that in the future I'm going to change these behaviors. Like, you need the training.
No, you can absolutely choose like kind of like a short-term path that is suboptimal, knowing that kind of in the long term it's unfeasible. That's just clearly the case.
Well, okay, so I would, on the other side of this, I'm going to say very obviously and clearly that's not the case. You can't become traumatized as a child and understand that like I'm going to engage in some survival skills here, but then as soon as I'm out of this environment, I'm going to flip a switch and become emotionally healthy. Like the definition, that's just absolutely not true. You're not going to find that in any research. Like of these things are going to be negatively impacting you for the rest of your life.
I agree with the trauma part. I think that's likely the case, and I think just the way trauma works, like that's definitionally the case. I guess what I'm just saying is that, I just think that's not. I think you can make cognitive decisions. You can make coherent, like kind of like you have the agency to kind of like be like, okay, I understand what two paths might yield for me and choose them accordingly based on the situation, which I think I like keep in mind, like the whole reason we went down this road is because I'm saying this suggestion of like, oh, like be the person's mom, that I think that's a very kind of like loaded way to kind of view a lot of interactions. And I think like I said, that absolutely happens, but I think it is very important to kind of like to distinguish that from to distinguish that from like other things that kind of caught that where like I guess like these emotional issues can arise. Like, and I'm not even necessarily saying that there are not issues on like the male's part regarding emotions. I think there are, but I don't think that manifests in like they're babying me or being my mom. I think that puts way
okay,
too
wait.
much.
So I guess just like backing up, like, do you think that if women have been practicing these skills in lower stakes settings their entire lives with their female friends, do you think that a man who comes into the relationship who's never practiced these skills or who's only practiced them when he's in like a nuclear meltdown mode, is he going to be on the same emotional level or emotional footing as the woman he's dating on average?
No, I don't think he will be, but I don't think that that will manifest itself in him being like, and him like seeking like some sort of mother figure. I think a guy hopefully that just like is intelligent enough to identify that he's lacking in that situation based on like that continued exposure to the woman who has it.
Do you think you can do you think you can like intellectualize your way to like a strong emotional engagement with somebody with like strong emotional health? You can intellectualize your way to that?
Not intellectualize. I just think this is just sort of like natural. I think this is just like the natural way of kind of like being where like if you are in a situation with somebody, especially somebody that you care about quite a bit, and you kind of notice an aspect of them that you might deem enviable or deem useful, suitable for just kind of like everyday life, like one might strive to emulate those, or at least
so I kind of agree with you, but I think your language betrays you a little bit. I think I agree with what you're saying there, but the issue is that you don't normally see these things as worthwhile, right? Because remember earlier, the way that you described a lot of these emotional things where women will pull punches, women will lie, they'll tell, like little half-truths, and they won't be like honest like they need to be. Like, I don't think you see value in these things until you're at like a crisis.
I think everybody does that, by the way. I just think that I'm talking about like likelihood. I think if all else equal, women might be more likely to do that, but I do think everybody does that. I was just kind of speaking to likelihoods. But anyway, continue.
Sure. Okay, I guess so on the broadest level then, I guess, where do you think so one of the questions I asked before was like, I feel like women are getting a lot of feminine and masculine training, socially speaking, and I feel like men are not getting any feminine training, socially speaking, and the only training they're getting from like Red Pill or Jordan Peterson like spaces is largely detrimental to pursuing relationships. And then I was gonna, do you have like a counter example of that? Because there might be some that exist.
I do have a counter, because Mouton asked that too, and yes, my counter is that because that question was in reference to me saying that I don't think that like Red Pill content is something that like even like I think maybe like 10% of men subscribe to that. Maybe if you get very young,
well, it's probably a lowish. It's probably a lowish number that frequently watch it, but the ideas I think are pretty pervasive socially as well.
That frequently watch it, and I think it's an even lower percentage of dudes that absorb that. I think maybe some people. I think I think most of the popular, I guess like Red Pill type people, they're probably. I think a lot of the times, if it's not like because of like political or religious reasons, the people watching them probably just watching them for entertainment, most likely. I think there are some that are like, oh no, I'm watching this to learn and like become like them. I think there are people like that, but I think that's like probably the smallest subset. The largest subset is probably like, oh, I find this shit funny.
Even if you watch it for entertainment, there's a certain type of person that would find that content entertaining, and you're going to pick up ideas from it after watching it for a certain
but that type of, but keep in mind, I'm still saying that is still maybe, I still would say like 1 in 10 people. That's still that would probably be consuming that content regularly for entertainment. But I'm saying like even smaller, maybe like of those 10 out of 100 people, maybe like 2 or 3 of them are watching because they're like fucking taking notes because they think this is some sort of ideology they should live by. And
sure, you don't have to be. You're not like taking notes, but like you're picking up on the behavior, right? You're gonna learn. You're gonna get some kind of training from this by consuming this type of content. No, you don't think it's gonna have any impact on a person?
I think it will have impact on those 2 to 3 people that I named. I think unfortunately there's kind of like a. I don't know if we would call it like just desserts type thing. I think like I said, like let's say there's 10 out of 100 people that watch that. I think maybe 2 out of 3 are watching because like they actually subscribe to this ideology and are like, okay, whatever. But I think there's also a share of them that are like, oh, because I know this is something that's I wish I could think of it. It's like there's like a thing, like I don't know if you are like on like social media, like somebody like will post something that's like obviously like wrong, but like someone will like it and like kind of like push it forward just because like it is attacking, or it is like kind of like condemning the group that one might not like. For example, if someone were to like post like, oh, like Josh Allen is like the 5th best quarterback in the league. Like I think Josh Allen is top 3 quarterback, but I don't like Josh Allen. So if I see someone saying Josh Allen's top 5 quarterback is like the 5th or 6th or 7th best quarterback, I'm gonna be like, oh, facts. So I will say facts every time, and I will back that person. But it's like if you really came and asked me, I'd be like, well, no, obviously Josh Allen is better than almost every other quarterback besides like, well, I'd say Lamar Jackson, but other people can disagree. So I think that happens a lot with this sort of content, where it's like, I think it's hard to kind of just look at, like, when you say people are consuming it and like,
sure, let's say that I agree with your premise. What are they liking it to push back against?
I think they're liking it to push back against, I would say like 2013 to like 2017-ish, sort of like third wave, like Lacey Green type feminism.
Sure. And what do you think are the main
like,
takeaways from that type of content that upset men so much?
I think the main takeaways from that sort of content was like kind of, I think a lot of men feeling like they were being told that they were inept for a variety of reasons, and not just that they were inept, but like they were inept in like indirect comparison to women. And I think that kind of like sort of like kind of festered, and unfortunately kind of like put people like Steven Crowder and like Ben Shapiro and Jordan
What if
Peterson.
what if there were aspects of truth to that?
I think that's the thing though, like, to go back to my Josh Allen example, like, it might be the case that someone might think Josh Allen's not as good as, his...
Wait, real quick. So I know where you're going. I'm kind of doing another trap, okay? But, like, do you remember earlier in the conversation, you said that, like, men are better at telling harsh truths to each other because this is how we learn better. But you were about to give me a whole spiel about how the way that somebody delivers a message is actually going to emotionally influence you enough to factually change how you engage with it, right?
Was I? Maybe. Well, I guess what I was just gonna say was, like, there might be some truth to like a criticism that a Josh Allen hater has of him, but that doesn't actually mean that what they're saying about him, like, their conclusion is still wrong. That's kind of what I was gonna say. So yeah, there was definitely truth to like the Lacey Green type message, but it's just that, like that doesn't really matter. That's kind of like, there's truth to like what like race realists and like eugenicists say about kind of like genetics, but that doesn't mean that their conclusions are kind of like accurate. And it doesn't mean that the kind of like hatred and contempt that is born out of the opposite side of that is unjustified just because some of what they're saying might be true. I think that's...
Do you think there's any... What do you think if you had to... I'm not trying to pull like specific statements or whatever, but if you had to think in your mind, like, what were some of the big complaints and like some of the big hatred stuff it was coming from? Do you think that like all of the resentment was unfair, or that all of the resentment was unjustified, or were there big, huge false points being made? Like, what would your big takeaways be where you're thinking like, God, these fucking, like, I hated the way that they did like A, B, and C or whatever?
No. I don't think unjustified is the right word. I think it would be, I guess it just has to do with like being sweeping, and I think imbalanced would be the word. I think imbalanced in the kind of like, it's like, okay, like, I think you might hear for like the trillionth time that like why, like, not rightfully so, I guess I would say correctly so, that like there definitely like are deficiencies, like male deficiencies in like a particular area, but it's like you hear that enough where you're like, okay, like I get that, but like if you have some level of discernment yourself and kind of analyze a particular situation between like two people, and it's like, okay, well, why is the other side kind of not being mentioned? Like, and you say that, and then you kind of get told like, oh, well, if you kind of even allude to there being another side to the story, or you allude to there being sort of like multiple parts to play in the, then it's because like you must have some sort of like, I don't know, like hatred within you to think that. Like it was kind of just like a situation where you really couldn't advocate for yourself, and I think that was very disempowering.
Well, do you think it might be because there's like, what if part of the complaint was that it's impossible to hold space for some female complaints because as soon as you do, those spaces immediately get hijacked by the super wokey feminist term was like, what about the men's or whatever, right? That a man would come into the space and say like, well, hold on, how are women going to complain about this? Like, I would say that this is like kind of the archetypical example of a whataboutism, where the goal is to bring up another issue so that you don't have to talk about the problem that the other person wants to talk about.
I agree with that, and I think generally speaking, I get annoyed when people do that, but I also think it's important to kind of hold space for when you're talking about kind of like historical sort of stuff, if you know what I mean, like not stuff that's necessarily happening in present day, but stuff that is happening in present day that's being kind of like informed by things of the past.
Mm-hmm.
When that's the case, it's like,
when you say hold space for, are you saying there's not space for men to air their grievances or to have conversations? Or
not that there's not space for men to air their grievances, but that a lot of, especially like when I'm talking about like 20, like when I'm talking like middle school and like high school age boys that don't, for one thing, I mean, their brains are just kind of like fucking, kind of not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they it kind of goes back to my other point with like the reality in which we live in. Like, if you live in a reality where like you're kind of and we got to the point of like you're seeing egalitarianism, you're seeing all this, but then you're still kind of being sort of like being presented with sort of like the baggage of the past, and not to say that that should never be the case, but I think what I'm saying is it's hard. I think it's hard for a young male to be able to conceptualize that, and I think that's something as they get older, ideally you grow out of. I mean, I can say like most of my friends who like kind of like were afflicted with that, like you grow out of it, you realize like you gain perspective. You're like, okay, first of all, like a lot of dudes kind of do just fucking suck, so I get what they're saying. And then secondly, you're kind of like, okay, well, it doesn't really. You kind of get better at like understanding like when a message is being kind of like conveyed, like just generally speaking, and like not necessarily like individual. Don't kind of like individualize and internalize like a general male criticism. I think that happens as you get older, but I do think it's important to hold space for. That's a lot to ask of a very, very young boy in a world that especially when he's like kind of being hit with something he's not familiar with or hasn't conceptualized, which is a privilege to not have to kind of understand.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I agree. Yeah, I agree. It is a lot, but then like I mean like the woman response would be, yeah, it is, but like this is what we've always been tasked with from birth to deal with, and you're expected at a very young age. You'll be what most women will say from 9 to 11 is when men start propositioning them for sex, like that.
Yeah,
all
that's
of
like
this
the
stuff.
and that's like the what now. That's like that kind of prompts like, okay, so what now? So you said that, and then I like there's like a hypothetical interaction where like the male says, hey, like I'm just kind of like catching up here, and one's like, oh well, why I've had to do this. It's like, okay, so now we are where we are. Is it do you rag on them more? It's like, but I think that was the typical answer in a lot of cases. Like, okay, well now that we're here, now let me shit on you some more. And when I say shit on you, I'm saying that is how the male in the situation will interpret whatever follows that sort of interaction. So I think
I don't. To be clear, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, like, I don't like being fucking condescended to, and I think a lot of this content can feel very condescending. I think that's a pretty obvious thing to take away from a lot of it. But like, I guess like if I was looking from the woman's perspective, right? So women have been asked to do a lot more now in terms of you have to get a job. You have the ability to run your own household. You kind of have to like take on all these more social responsibilities that like traditionally were kind of like all in the domain of man. And women have largely been able to do that, seems to be the case. And now when it's like, okay, well, now we also need men to step up in these ways. This goes back to my one question of like, is there content out there? Are there large examples of male role models or leaders being like, okay, well, now we're going to help men learn how to do this thing? Or have all of those role models that have popped up basically been like, we need to get rid of women's right to vote. We need to get rid of birth control so women have to get pregnant when they fuck. And we probably need to do something about women engaging in the workplace and school as much as they are because it's been a disaster for men. Like, is it generally a movement forward for men? Like how to incorporate them into a tomorrow that is working for everybody? Or is it like how do we return society to the state before where women were essentially like the gender slaves? Because it feels like it's the latter, not the former, which is, again, why I was asking, and I think Mouton was asking, like, what is this example of positive male content that is demonstrating, like, how to be a modern man rather than, like, I want to go back to what it was before because it was a lot easier to deal with?
Did that get answered yet?
Yeah, I was actually going to answer that, but then I think I'm not exactly sure how we got kind of, like, I mean, I was going to answer that. And to answer that question, I do actually think that does exist, but that exists in the form of, I guess you would just say like left-wing, like liberal content.
The libcucks that everybody fucking hates and that all the manly men all say are actual cucked losers that real men don't listen to.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I don't think that's like a man's like space that like fights over the red pill. I don't think it's like the counter side though.
No, it's not
just like a lib side.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that. I guess my point is that the red pill stuff is not like that. That can't really exist on like in the same form, kind of like on the liberal side. Like I would say, kind of like for example, like I would say Destiny's community is like a liberal community. But like it's just not. You wouldn't. I think, but there's some level of like understanding of kind of like just like understanding of like the macro like society and like history and stuff that kind of informs like the way that like men kind of think and like communicate in liberal spaces that is helpful. But it's just it will never be this like kind of like more like it will just kind of never be what might be viewed as like that's like liberal red pill content. It will just never be that because that just can't really exist in the same form or kind, and there's no really demand for it
Well, but wasn't there like female kind of red pill content, like girl bossing and all this bullshit? Like, didn't that happen? Like, they're really it's impossible to make positive male role models. That's an impossible content thing to do.
No, it's not that it's impossible. It's that I think when that question is posed, one kind of like imagines, I guess like an Andrew Tate-ish liberal figure. But like I think like that is like kind of trying to like like that's just like kind of like a bit fantastical. Like it will be someone who's not necessarily. It's hard to that's the sort. I don't even know how to say, but like that's a message that's kind of hard to express in a way that would make one kind of like associate it with like the counter to red pill content.
Is it possible that that's part of the problem, that it's impossible to even like imagine or envision like this type of thing? Or is that just a coincidence? Yeah.
Is it possible it's part of the problem? I think that, yeah. I mean, I think you can say that's part of the problem. But I guess my point would be, if I were to say like 1 in 10 men, I mean, maybe I know you disagree with the kind of ratio, but so let's say like 3 in 10 men are like consuming red pill content just generally. Like, what are the other 7 men consuming? Are they consuming nothing? Like they're consuming something. So like whatever. It's like it's either, let's say there's 2 rows of the red pill content or something else. Like they're consuming the something else, and the something else technically would be like the counter to the red pill. It's just not. It just doesn't exist in the same form.
Yeah, but they don't have to be consuming anything. You can be friends with somebody else who's a misogynist and start to learn these tendencies from somebody else. And I think that is a problem among men, that people we learn these tendencies from one another. And so even if there's only 10% of people reading this stuff and watching this stuff, that they
your mic is like got like 70 or 50% of the volume or something. I don't know what happened, by the way.
Sorry, I was actually saying goodnight to my wife, so I was actually
loser. Yikes.
A good husband. And yeah, so no, I think it's also something that actually spreads. It's about how behavior spreads. So I don't even think you have to directly be taking the content in.
Okay, so I guess I would just ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, if 3 out of 10, okay, let's say 10 men are in a room. If 3 of them are watching red pill content and the others are watching normal mainstream shit, the problem is that 3 of them aren't watching women are superior content. If a woman or a man comes out and they're like, men actually have to be in the house slaving after women, that's a kink, that's a fetish, it's made fun of usually. It's not something that people are genuinely fucking saying, right? But people will actually say misogynistic stuff and actually believe it unironically and not even necessarily like as a kink.
Like, what's the counter to this? Like, I would say it's not mainstream, but like there are a decent number of people in online spaces, and it's getting a little bit more pervasive in real life. This whole like abolish the 19th Amendment, right? Like, what's the equivalent on the other side to that? Getting rid of women's right to vote or whatever.
Men should start in jail and prove their way out.
Who the fuck has ever said that?
Men should start in jail?
I don't think I've ever heard
we
that
should
before.
put babies in jail?
Holy shit, that's base.
But also
No,
do that.
wait, hold on. Yes, you guys know. Well, I mean, it's not a fucking like. There's no like dissertation on like this like theory, but yeah, like you've never seen like the men need to start in jail. It's usually kind of like people quote tweeting like, "Man violently murders woman" or something. Like that's not funny, but that's usually where you see that sort of rhetoric and then being kind of like perpetuated.
Okay. I feel like that's not like genuine though, in the same way that like, I don't know, people quote retweet and they go, "Oh, between a bear and a man, I would choose a bear." Right? I don't think that that's the same as like
that's a better
Andrew,
example,
as Andrew Tate or like similar right-wing red pillars giving their like actual takes, not just like quote retweeting shit that they don't mean, but like actually giving their philosophy of like women belong in the kitchen.
And I understand, like I definitely do verbally in regards to that conversation, but I guess my question to you would be, so when you say that, but then there's actual kind of like these videos of like content creators, like male and female content creators, like justifying the man bear hypothetical, like what do you think they're also joking, or because like
wait, I'm so curious. What is your takeaway from that? I remember that whole discourse.
My takeaway from that is that it was a combination of trolling, genuine kind of like just like disdain for men, and then Yeah, I mean, I think some people were kind of saying it because they knew it pissed people off, and I think some people were saying it because like they truly believe it. And I personally think, if you ask me what I think, do I think it's smart? I think it's very fucking crazy.
Wait. Let me re-roll this, okay? Let's pretend we're in a room, okay? There's 10 women on the other side, and they've all been given truth serums, and they have to write down all their thoughts on this, okay? And then I'm holding a gun to your head, and you have to identify what at least 3 of them have put down on a piece of paper. When a woman says something like, "I think I'd feel more comfortable in a forest with a bear than a man," what do you think is being said? Do you think it was all just trolling? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, re-roll that. Maybe just give the exact same. I'm just curious. When you?
No, I don't think it's all just trolling. When I say trolling, I'm saying like they're saying it because they want to make men feel like shit. That's when I say trolling, not like they're joking. But in regards to your second question, I mean, I would say there's probably a good chance that it's like just sort of like an allusion to just or maybe, I guess like highlighting just like maybe like a safety issue that they believe is sort of like overlooked and neglected, to like where it might be the case that you wouldn't literally choose a bear over a man in terms of like encountering a being randomly in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a level of fear that is kind of like experienced by most women that they
okay. I don't know what you just did, but whatever you did, you turned it on. Yeah. So the second answer you gave is that was the point of that, right? That's 100% what was at play there, right?
Yeah, I don't think that women say I would rather be like if I said I would rather be in a forest with a bear instead of a man. It's not to make men feel bad. It's to make a commentary that like I would be afraid of being raped or like murdered.
Yeah, but I also think that. Okay, wait, hang on. So I agree, but I think that, like, my question, anyone can answer. But when there are people that are actually kind of like doing these video essays, like explaining why it's actually the logical choice to do this thing for X and Y reason, like, how is one meant to interpret those?
Wait, I have to ask. Now, this is the only time I'm ever going to do this because I don't really do this. But I have to push you on a specific. Did somebody actually make an essay saying these are the reasons why you'd be safer with a bear than a man? Did this really happen?
No, like those. It's just. I probably saw most of them on your stream, but it's just like those videos where it's like they're like an embedded video of like people being incredulous about the question, and then like somebody like gives like a 2-minute talk about like actually why it makes sense or whatever. I'm sure you know what I'm talking.
Well, but is it why it makes sense in terms of like this is where this like feeling is coming from, or is it why it makes sense in terms of like the woman is actually intelligently evaluating her survival chances here, and it would be better with a bear than with a man?
Well, okay, see, this is where it gets tricky because like it's both. There's the ones that are the latter, but then there's also the if the bear's like if you're large enough or kind of present scary enough, then the bear will realize that the injuries it might sustain while hunting you like wouldn't be worth it, so it'll leave you alone. Whereas a man is less likely to like worry about that because it's like that sort of kind of stuff where you're just kind of like, okay, like this is just fucking retarded. And also, I think there's also there's a bit of disingenuousness in that question when it comes to the man and the bear, because a lot of it doesn't just come down to what we spoke to, which is why like a lot of them would choose that. Like it's kind of like a social commentary that like makes sense, and I understand why one might want to draw attention to that. But on the other side of it, there's like one willing to acknowledge kind of like the fact situation. Like if it were the case that you truly believe this, there would be a lot more like it's just I don't know, like that the scenario is actually implausible and the answer actually doesn't make sense in a literal sense. And there's some people who are unwilling to bite the bullet in the literal sense. And then that's like, okay, well, so actually, why are you saying this? And I think those things were conflated, which made it a lot more inflammatory and incendiary.
I'm having a hard time understanding what you mean. Like
what I mean
boiling
is that,
down, like essentially what you're saying.
I guess what I'm saying is like there's what we've kind of like understood to be, what we've agreed to be the general reason for that discourse. And then there's the other part, there's like the opposite end of it where if I were to say to you, okay, well, like a man is just like less, like all else equal, like a man is obviously just far less likely to take you to a bear. And like, you could probably first of all, like, I guess my first response would be if you're randomly stranded in the fucking forest and encounter a random dude, he'll probably just want to like work with you to like figure out how to get the fuck out of there. Like that would be my first thing to be like, okay, that's probably what would happen, right? But I think like the baseline assumption
that the average woman would feel safe in the forest if like she was in the middle of the woods and like a man just kind of like, crack, there's like sticks breaking, turn around, it's a man. Do you think that the average woman would feel safe in that situation?
No, I don't think the average person would feel safe in that situation, but I think the man would be equally afraid. I think he's
I
more
disagree
capable.
with that. Well, at least I can't imagine feeling that afraid for seeing just a random guy in the woods.
No, I'd be like, oh, you hunting
Well, I
too?
think we have to depend. It depends a lot on how we're phrasing this. Also, when we say like a random guy in the woods, this sounds like a fucking horror movie. I think everybody would be afraid to some extent. But like here's just a thing to think about, right? And I, like the social stuff is a lot, but like think about in terms of just like the social engagement, right? Let's say that if we were making a movie, for instance, okay, and I'm leaning into media because I think media like shows us how we feel about each other and how we feel culturally about like our place in culture and the different roles, right? If a man were to encounter another man in the forest who needed help, and then he helped him, and he kind of like, you know, took care of his shit, and they both made it out together. Like, in your mind, like, when they finally come out of the forest, like, how do you think that movie is ending?
It's you know, maybe go to like a diner or something.
Sure. Okay.
Say goodbyes.
Yeah, sure.
They're friends.
Wait, but if that same movie were to play out, and it was a man that found a woman in the forest, and then like kind of like took care of her, nursed her back to health or whatever, or helped her with a broken leg or some shit, and then they got out of the forest, how do you expect that movie to end?
They're fucking.
Why would you
they're fucking in that
stop? You're
forest.
ruining it. Kick her out. Stop. Yes, but that was the point. Yeah, like you would feel that like they're, like the woman owes this guy sex. Like he's literally everything about. One of the hard things I think from the male perspective is that like
I'm not sure I would think that.
Really.
Like when you say a movie, you mean like what would the movie's plot line be, or do you mean like in a real life scenario? But like the movie is just playing out this real life scenario.
Well, it's instructive, I think, culturally for how we feel about things. That if the man saves
I know, but I
the
think
woman,
that there's a. Well, I mean, is the man like single?
like you say,
Does he have shoes,
You just say the
Steven?
perfect things. I just want you to say you say the perfect things, right? Like the fact that you even asked that question is like, I think is instructive.
Well, if he's married, he's not going to want to have sex with the woman.
First of all, really, cope, yeah, cope.
Yes.
When you get married, you know all sexual attraction doesn't just go away, right?
Yes, I do know
What?
that, but that does not mean it. Okay, wait.
Have you been sexually attracted to people since we got married?
Big time.
No, you're
What?
fine. But do you understand that like the difference there in terms of like what's owed if somebody is sexually or like the just like the different expectations that even go into that, right?
I understand the differences that you're outlining. I don't agree that those differences exist in the way that you're describing them.
You don't agree that okay, so if we go to a real life analog, right? How many men do you think it's a common complaint that a man would say something like, I took this girl out to dinner, it was a really expensive place, I was nice to her all night, and then she didn't even give me a kiss at the door and we just left, and I feel like I got ripped off. Do you think that's like a common male complaint?
I think it's okay. So I think in the realm of male complaints, that would be a common one. I think it's, I mean, likely wouldn't complain at all. But if you were to complain, that would be a complaint that would be common, yes. So I think it's multifaceted. I think that question kind of presupposes the idea that most men would complain in a situation when I think most men would just kind of like shoulder and move on, or not even want to talk about it because they would be embarrassed. But if the man were to have the inclination to complain or vent about it, or speak ill of like the proverbial woman due to that interaction, and that would likely be a common one that one hears. Yes.
Sure. So I guess my point is that like, I think there's like this expectation that a lot of a woman's role in society revolves around her ability to be the perfect fuck toy for a man, and that like even in the social roles we play, at the end of the day, a lot of them kind of.
And what is that expectation based on? Like, what's informing?
I hate to say this, but like patriarchy or whatever, but like basically like men run society, right? So everything kind of has to be revolved around like what does a man want or what does empower the man most, right? So like a lot of historically like male self-improvement.
Run society how?
Well, like so culturally, if we think of like a lot of male self-improvement content, right? Can you think of, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question I'll ask is, tell me when you think of male self-improvement content, what kind of content are you thinking of? Like, what are they telling the man usually?
Probably Eye of the Tiger, Rocky.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of any stuff that you're told in male self-improvement content that wouldn't materially benefit you if you were single?
Told him probably just kind of like a never give up kind of thing.
That wouldn't benefit you. Like, wouldn't that benefit you if you were single?
Oh, would not benefit me if I wait. Hang on, sorry, I'm not. Would it benefit me? So if I were single, this advice would not matter to me whatsoever.
Yeah, or it wouldn't be good to like improve yourself in that way.
If I was single, Can you give me an example of what you're? I'm struggling to.
Sure. So like on the
understand.
female side, maybe there's some thing about like how to navigate. Well, my examples are going to be super loaded now if we're coming from this perspective, but like from the woman's side, like I would argue that a lot of, at least historically traditional, like female self-improvement content is going to have to do with like how to appeal to a man, right? Like what's the proper clothing to wear? What is like the best sexual techniques or stuff like this is going to be things to like how to make your man like, you
think
glow
so?
for you and shit like this. Generally
Well,
speaking.
you said historically.
Yeah, historically. When I say
Not
historic, I mean
presently.
like 15-ish years ago, like 10, 15 years ago.
But not presently, right?
Not as much, but yes, it's definitely still like an overbearing element in society for sure. Even if women
And you think
nowadays, I think we're slowly
there's a
transitioning
high
away, but
demand
we're
for that
still.
content?
You think what?
Do you think there's a high demand for that type of content today?
Yes, I think we're in the first stage of right now. I think we're getting away from it, but we're still like in the female cope world where a lot of women have mind fucked themselves into thinking that it's actually self-empowering. But the reality is they're like when women are like, oh, a lot of women will get mad at this. Well, like when a lot of women are like, oh no, like I wear high heels and this makeup and these dresses because I think it looks good for me, and other women like it. That's a cope. They've been told for a long time that it makes them more fuckable. They've gaslit themselves into thinking that they like it themselves without any external influence. And when they talk to each other, they're speaking to each other as men with a man's eye in their mind, and they just don't realize it. But I think we're transitioning away from that, where female self-improvement content or whatever is probably just going to look more like male self-improvement content.
Okay.